All right, here we go.
Let's do it.
Welcome back to Bad Movies Rule, the worst movie podcast ever recorded. And today you better grab a hold of your saddle horn. We're going to see how fast this podcast will go.
What are you hauling in there? Rocket fuel.
I wonder.
Bad Movies Rule, the podcast that's illegal in 2 states.
That's right.
This ain't one. Wait, no.
Wait.
We're talking about Armed and Dangerous today, guys. This, I feel like, little-known comedy, maybe I'm wrong, from 1986. And, I mean, I knew all about it, but when I've mentioned it to a couple people, they're all like, what movie are you talking about?
Yeah.
I had no clue.
No? Never heard of it?
No.
All right.
First time I saw it, actually.
Seen it hundreds of times.
I had seen this repeatedly.
Interesting.
This one was from E&E Electronics in Antioch there. My dad brought it home, I think, the first time. We wore it out a couple times.
I'm interested to find out if the people out there, if it had been as well known or if this is one of the ones that flew under the radar for John Candy. But I guess we'll find out. We won't know until it's released. But in this room, 3 out of 4 people knew about it.
I think 75% of the population probably had.
It's interesting. Where'd you get your sample?
This room.
Okay.
All right. We just did the poll on that one.
Scientific.
That's right. Well,
Actually,
look.
Bevan knew about it downstairs, too.
Oh, did he?
We're actually up to a solid 80%.
Oh, I didn't ask him.
We talked about this morning.
All right. Well, maybe I'm wrong then. Sometimes the way that I. All right. Well, then let's just jump into it. That thought is not worth finishing. And introduce to you guys who we have in this. What is wrong with me today? Welcome into the studio, you guys. I appreciate that you're here to talk about Armed and Dangerous. Today we've got Mr. Clint Bush with us. Clint, good morning. How are you, sir?
We're doing good. A little bit tired. We had a busy weekend this week.
Yeah?
Yeah, we raced Friday and Saturday, like 87 entries on our Saturday race.
Wow.
Yeah, it was pretty great.
Awesome.
Had the kids go collect Easter eggs and stuff like that.
The track, if you're ever in Burlington, Wisconsin, come on down.
Did you just tape one of the Easter eggs onto a car and say, go get it?
No.
No, that would have been fun.
We did just, hide a bunch of them out on the track, which isn't really hidden, but we told them how many they could get because they had different stuff in them.
Yeah.
Some were prizes versus candy. And all the parents were like, why can't they ever clean their rooms that fast? Like, legitimately, they picked up 128 eggs in about 3.5 seconds.
Yeah.
Wow.
It was
nice.
pretty quick.
Did they have to do it with the cars racing?
No, we did clear the track for them.
It's like Frogger, but with kids.
You put the eggs on them and then run the car, and they got to catch it.
Yeah.
Right?
Liability issues, probably.
I guess,
with
I
that.
suppose. Joining us also this morning is Kurt Mummer. Kurt.
Yes, sir. How are you this morning?
I'm great, man. How are you doing?
I'm good.
Yeah?
I'm glad to be here.
I'm glad that you're here, dude. Honestly, what's going on in Kurt's life lately? What are you up to, man?
Not much. I got a play going on.
Ooh, really?
Yeah, I tried out, and I actually got a role in Shawshank Redemption.
Shawshank.
So I was quite shocked. I haven't done that in about 20 years.
You're shocked to be in Shawshank.
Yeah.
All right.
I thought that was the Green Mile.
That's awesome, man. Well, I'm glad that you're getting a chance to do that. That's really, really cool.
Yeah, I'm excited. So we'll see how that goes. Come
All
on
right.
out. Take a peek.
It's opening soon?
Yeah, this week, actually.
Oh, my God. Well, by the time this comes out, it's
by
probably
the time
over.
this comes out, it'll be over. But yeah, sure. Never mind.
But future you is going to be really happy with
I'm
that.
going to be excited. I'll see how it goes. I'll let you know.
I was going to hey, scrub that. Don't let everybody know it's in this.
I should have asked, how'd the show go? Did it go good?
It went great.
Oh,
I did
good.
a great job.
People loved it?
They loved it.
Okay.
They were like, oh, man, Kurt Mummer's in it. I got to go see it.
Awesome. And then straight out of the shoe store, we've got Mr. Mel Vandy. Mel, thank you for prying yourself away.
I went to that show, actually, and it was great until the weird guy stood up and wasn't wearing any pants.
Yeah, well, that happens.
Sorry about that.
Thank God for the bright lights on stage. I didn't see that part, but yeah.
It was cold.
That's all right. Well, hey, I appreciate that you're here as well. And as I said, we're talking about Armed and Dangerous, a movie from 1986. The last movie we did from 1986 was Big Trouble in Little China. This was apparently
What a great movie.
It was, wasn't it? A banner year. A banner year.
A banner year for
That's right.
1986.
That's right. So let's just dive into the vitals here, and then we'll get into everyone's general impression of the movie. And what we generally do in our episodes is we talk through all the particulars, who directed it, who wrote it, who was in it, what the ratings of the movie are, how the public has received it, whether the critics hated it. We get our overall impressions of the movie, and then we walk through the plot scene by scene. And at the end, we throw some flowers at these. And at the end, we throw some flowers at these things and give them some awards, all kinds of different awards. So I'm glad you're here with us. Come along for the ride. This movie was directed by Mark L. Lester. Kind of. I don't know how else to explain this. Sorry. Every time we do morning ones. This was directed by Mark L. Lester, for a while, and then partway through, he was replaced by Brian Grazer, who was one of the writers, or at least had a story credit. Brian Grazer, more famously known as movie producer of some big, well-known movies. But he had to take over because the director walked out.
Yeah.
Mark Lester, the only other thing that you probably would know, the year before this, he directed Commando with Arnold Schwarzenegger, right? This
You're
is what
going
he
to
did.
be so mad, but I've never seen Commando.
Oh, no?
No.
Dude.
Sidebar, wasn't it John Carpenter that backed out and then
Carpenter was
Lester took
originally
over?
offered.
Okay.
He never was part of it. This Lester was actually on site directing scenes and walked off
Do you know
the
about
set.
how far in they made it?
About halfway, I'm assuming.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah, it sounds like this movie really went through the ringer.
Yeah.
I mean, just not only just in directing, but actors as well, of who was signed on, then they're not, then they are, then this person, then that
Right.
person.
Well, what was supposed to be Aykroyd and Belushi.
Right. And then Tom Hanks was offered a role, I
Right.
think, at some point, and he turned it down.
Norm.
Yeah.
Yep.
So,
And then Candy recommended his buddy from SCTV, and that's how he ended up with him and Eugene Levy.
yeah.
which worked.
Oh, their dynamic is effortless. I mean, whenever you get with somebody that you've worked with 100 times, and they've done sketches together, they've done other movies together, then yeah, I mean, they've done Splash at this point, and yeah, it's effortless. But John Candy is, he's got a reputation of being, one of the more, we'll call them nice guys of Hollywood, right?
Easy to work with.
Easy to work with. This guy, apparently, the director, Mark L. Lester, stormed off the set when John Candy refused to call Meg Ryan the B word, which he had demanded that he do in a scene. And John's like, no, I'm not doing that. And so the guy stormed off, and Brian Grazer had to take over. The producer had to start directing.
Seems like
Wow.
a very minor thing to get so upset about.
This guy was looking for an excuse to leave.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know, or they had just, it had been a difficult working relationship, and that was the last straw. I mean, we
Could have
don't,
been.
who
Yeah.
knows?
I'm with John Candy on this one. She was absolutely adorable. How could you ever?
Yeah, you call Meg Ryan that. That's terrible. The movie was written. So this is an interesting story too, because it was the story credits were Harold Ramis, Brian Grazer. Harold Ramis, obviously, we all know who that is, and James Keach. But then the script was written by PJ. I'm going to say this wrong. Torkiev. Harold didn't like how the movie came out. He did everything to try and remove his name from it. He was able to remove his name as an executive producer, but the Writers Guild wouldn't let him pull his story credit off of it. He wanted nothing. He wanted no one to know he had anything to do with it.
Interesting. Yeah.
Yeah.
But I mean, with Suburban Commando, they were able to pull names back. So
Well, it just depends. Yeah, I mean, who knows why the Writers Guild. This time you
Chooses
can. This time you
yeah.
can't. Whatever. There's probably
Who knows if
Stupid
they
reasons.
didn't think that, like, hey, this is the only reason it got made is because we had a big name guy on
Well,
the
there
story
was-
credit.
there was big names throughout. I mean, there was
Sure, but I'm
big
just-
plans for this movie.
But you never know when a thing initially hit the table. If it's like, okay, these are the guys that wrote it. Like, hell yeah, let's move forward with it based on that value.
Well, Ramis had said in an interview that the movie had died a nice, quiet death, meaning he had written it. It was supposed to be Aykroyd and Belushi. Then it was supposed to be these other guys. It didn't happen, and then it kind of just faded out and died. And he kind of wasn't too upset that it wasn't going to be made.
Sure.
Because he wasn't all that thrilled with it. Brian Grazer is the one that came out of nowhere, kind of resurrected it, and asked Harold, if I can find a director, can we make the movie? And he's like, oh, fine, I guess. So he wasn't even really fully
Committed to
committed
it.
that or happy that it was happening in the first place. And, so Brian Grazer is probably more the driving force behind it. But the guy that PJ Torkiev actually wrote the script, he's got some decent, it's all kind of cheese stuff. He wrote a lot of WKRP, Real Genius, Back to School, Caddyshack 2, a lot of those 80s movies that are like,
Yeah.
they're fun, but
Fun.
they're not like,
Not epic, but
not epic.
but fun.
Yeah.
They're all right for sequels. and movies.
Movie star John Candy, Eugene Levy, as we know, Meg Ryan, Robert Lodge, I think it's Loggia, that's how you say his last name, and Kenneth McMillan. Now, this is what I want to bring up real quick. But Kenneth McMillan is the guy that was the head of the security guards, Meg
captain.
Ryan's dad.
Meg Ryan's
Yeah.
dad.
Listen to this run that this guy had just come off of before he made this movie. In 1984, he was in Amadeus. It was an Oscar nominated, like 12 Oscar nominations or something. He was also in 84, he was in Dune, the original Dune, as the Baron, as like the big bad guy. And then in 1985, he was in Runaway Train, which if you guys haven't seen that, that's an awesome movie with John Voight, kind of an action film. And so he just came off those three movies, and then he's doing Armed and Dangerous. And sadly, I don't know why I'm chuckling. I guess I'm chuckling because I imagine him being on set after going through making those three movies and being like, well, they can't all be winners.
Yeah, like almost in the sense of this is going to be a cakewalk.
Yeah,
I
right.
got
Exactly.
this. Yeah.
Exactly. And
He owed someone a favor.
something.
Yeah, I'll do it.
But sadly, he passed away 3 years later. 1989, he had passed away. So he didn't live much longer after this. Movie had a budget of $12 million and a box office of just $16 million. That's not going to get it done. We're currently sitting 0.1 below Air America on IMDb. It's at a 5.7. And it's at 10% on Rotten Tomatoes currently with a 39% audience score. So
That, like I said, that just seems low. Like,
Yeah.
I don't know.
I mean, there's over 5,000 ratings, so it's not. I mean, there's plenty of people that went on there and rated it.
Sure.
But-
you got to compare it though to today. I mean, you look at it's dated. It's 80s. I mean, we got to say it's 80s. So a lot of the stuff today is going to get rated a lot better because
The music.
music's
is
better.
amazing.
I mean, it's less dated.
I mean, the moment
Does
Armed
that
and
not-
Dangerous starts, I mean, they've
Does
got
that
the
not
sweet
take
Armed
you
and
back?
Dangerous theme song.
I love the 80s, man. I mean, how many of them just had a theme song or they're just singing the title?
Yeah.
Right? We did. What was the other one we did? Knockoff. Well, that was
Yeah.
the 90s, but they still kind of were doing it then.
Yeah.
Armed and Dangerous.
Yep. That's
But
awesome.
it works.
Oh, yeah, man. It's awesome stuff, but
The
that's
synth
not.
music for tension. It's so good.
Well, that's what I'm saying, dude. This is.
You like 80s cheese.
It's got all kinds of charm, okay? And I guess now, as we do, we'll get our general impressions of the film, and I want to hear exactly where you guys land on this movie, at least initially. But before we do that, I just want to say to the people listening at home, we appreciate that you're here. Do us a favor, take some time, whatever app you're using, if you could pause the show, rate us on either Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Podcast Addict, whatever you use. If it allows you to leave a rating, it really helps the show. Every 5-star rating we get will push us higher up in the charts, and more people can discover the show. It'd be a great help to us. Also, if you'd like to contact the show, we love interacting with listeners, and we'll do these mailbag episodes periodically. And so if you've ever got any questions for us, or if you just got movies you want to suggest or talk to us, the best way to do that is via our email address, which is thisshowis trash@gmail.com. As we've been saying, we're the worst movie podcast ever. So we wanted an address that would reflect that. thisshowis trash@gmail.com. And then for our diehards out there, we have made a Patreon page that's got all kinds of awesome bonus content. We get bonus recordings from every episode. Plus, we're going to have polls voting on upcoming movies that we do on the show. We're going to have Clint fight a seal.
Yes.
At one point, we're going to film
I
that.
hope it's not a Navy one.
No.
That's going to be way
I
harder.
hope
Right.
it's a Navy one.
We've got all kinds of insane stuff planned for that. So for as little as $3, you can be part of our Patreon, and we appreciate everybody that is. Thank you very much. And at the end of the episode, we're going to give you guys some shout outs as well. All right. Overall impressions of the film. Who would like to start? I want to see where you guys are on this thing. All right. I'll volunteer you. Clint, you're up.
Volunteer you.
I watched this movie when I was a kid. Like I said, I enjoyed it. There was parts, your dad shoos you out of the room for and stuff little stuff like that.
Yeah.
And I remember seeing it a little bit, maybe pre-high school was the last time I saw it. So like really early 90s, and then never again heard about it until, hey, this is on the list. Let's do it. And I was like, I believe I even told you, I was like, man, I hope this thing holds up to what I remember. And as far as I can tell, I still enjoyed it. I liked it. It's a cinematic masterpiece. No. Good entertaining. Yes, absolutely.
Well, that's kind of, and what's interesting when you say about that, like there's parts you can shoot out of the room. It's a PG-13 movie. And so there's parts where
there's full nips in this movie.
Seems for a quarter of 1 second.
It counts.
But it seems like there's many parts where you should shoot.
Right.
But then you're almost like, I chewed you out for no reason. But come back in here because nothing actually happened.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. It's kind of in that weird, like they should have just gone and just made an R-rated movie if that's the kind of stuff they wanted to joke around about and do.
Sure.
Kurt, what'd you think?
I guess I'm still on the fence. So I enjoyed the movie, but it was not the best John Candy movie I've ever seen.
I hope not. Oh my gosh.
Yeah. So it's one of those things where I was expecting more.
Yeah.
From him.
Yeah.
I don't see him as like the tough guy cop.
The sarcastic.
Yeah. So I was kind of like, I get the hero role, but like I like when he's the bumbling idiot hero. I mean,
I got you.
My favorite one is Barf. I mean, he's a great bumbling idiot, but he's lovable and the heart of the movie, I feel like. You know?
Yeah, no, look, I would hope nobody's favorite John Candy movie, considering the litany of what he's done,
is Armed and Dangerous.
Yeah.
So, but given that, I did enjoy the movie. It was my first time seeing it. So after watching it, I went, yeah. I mean, it was humorous.
Okay.
There was a lot of references I didn't necessarily get. You know, like the Pincus and McCarthy. Yeah. I had to look that up.
You had to Google that?
Yeah. So I was like, oh, all right. Like, you know, and
that was high comedy in 1986.
Oh yeah. So, you know, but there were some bits in there that I definitely laughed at.
Okay, cool. Mel, you got this one on rotation at the shoe store?
This is my favorite John Candy movie, actually.
Don't even start.
No, I tell you what. I liked this movie as a kid.
Okay.
And as you know, I watched it a bunch as a kid. You know, we'd rent something and then wear it out in a couple days, and
you had to give it back, rewound.
Well, yeah, be kind, rewind.
That's right.
But when I get to today, you know, I was praying this movie would hold up, and it did. It was still fun. It's dated, but it was still fun. You know, it was a fun ride, and it's a comedy action that doesn't take itself too seriously.
Certainly not.
It's definitely a fun story, and you know, you look at it today with some life experience, and it's a little bit different than, you know, some of the stuff that you didn't appreciate as a kid.
Could you imagine this story being written out straight serious? You know, this would be
like Christopher Nolan doing this movie.
Dude, you'd have like explosions. You know, this entire heist thing. It would be crazy.
I mean, it could
go either way, but yeah,
it was remade. It's called Pain and Gain.
That's true. Yeah, I know you guys. There's been a lot of talk just in the last few minutes about does it hold up, and I'm kind of asking the same question, right? And I think it's because I think this movie was on heavy rotation on the movie channels, like back at a certain time when we were younger, right? And when I don't know if you guys did, but once my dad got the black box and we could watch all the movie channels, this was one that was just constantly on all the time.
HBO was affordable.
That's right. And so I watched it a lot. I enjoyed it. It was one of those movies I remember watching over and over and over again. And I think it does, in certain respects, hold up, in certain respects, not at all. I think it also, just based on the age that I am now, I relate differently with different characters. And so, whereas before I might have liked John Candy, I might have really enjoyed his performance as a kid. Now I found myself being more related to Eugene Levy's
absolutely
stuff. Do you know what I mean?
I can see that. I like total Eugene Levy fan in this movie. It's like I totally, absolutely.
Yeah,
I'm on board with this.
I probably didn't get much of what he was saying.
Yeah,
you know, the first time around. So there. But that being said, while I still lean thumbs up, there are some serious problems with this movie, just structurally. And I could see also maybe why Harold Ramis was like, yeah. Right? And anytime you got a guy that smart and that talented going, can you just take my name off of it? There's a reason for that.
Yeah. Well, and I'd say, I'll take lightly when we say, does it hold up? Does it hold up to being entertaining to me? That's what I say when it doesn't hold up. Is it a great, like I said, cinematic masterpiece?
Yeah.
Nope.
Well, we're going to do we'll walk through all that.
What was Grazer's like background before this movie? Because like he's produced a ton of movies that I love.
Tons, yeah.
And I just feel like this doesn't seem like, it seems like it would be his beginner movie, but it kind of makes me go, I was really surprised that this was a Grazer movie, I guess is what I'm trying to say.
Well, he's got almost exclusively producing experience. He's got very few, I think 2 or 3 writing credits. This was one of them.
Okay.
He's done barely any directing. And this, against his will was another one of those. So I'm sure that at the time this was conceived and he wanted to produce it and resurrect it from the dead, it probably was a lot different than the way it came out. There's always 3 versions of any movie. There's the one that was written, there's the one that you shot, and then there's the one that's released, right? And those are all 3 different films.
No, that makes sense.
So,
yeah, I mean, by far my favorite is Jim Carrey's How the Grinch Stole Christmas that he did and helped produce. So, I mean, that, looking at something like that from a quality standpoint that still holds up, like it just seemed odd to me. Like I thought maybe this was a beginner movie, but I didn't know where this fell into like his career.
well, if you guys want to look him up, my phone is being used as the phone on the stick, so I can never look anything up.
Let me look.
This is part of why we are currently raising some funds to get our own studio space so that we could be more effective and not necessarily have to be the crappiest movie podcast of all time.
No, we can have the best equipment and still be crappy.
That's fair. That's fair. Well, while Kurt's doing that, when you find it, let us know.
Yeah, sure.
But while Kurt's diving into that, let's dive into the film and start off with basically how the movie starts, which is Frank Dooley is, and to give you guys a little bit of just a synopsis for those of you who haven't seen the movie, Frank Dooley is played by John Candy, and Frank is a cop who ends up getting in some trouble, which we'll talk about here in a minute, and is forced to become a security guard along with Eugene Levy, and they end up tangled in a criminal conspiracy. Basically, okay? But before all that happens, we start with Frank as a police officer, and the whole first scene of the movie is him pulling up to this house where there's this, and I'll say this in air quotes that you guys can't see, there's this crying little girl next to a tree.
This wet-cheeked little girl.
She had the Beastmaster tears for going on, which I'll always equate to that movie where they go and put the eye droplets on Beastmaster's cheeks when he's supposed to be crying about his dad,
Yep.
This girl had the Beastmaster tears, and she's crying because there's a cat stuck in a tree. Fluffy, which was an adorable little kitten. And John Candy is going to climb this monstrous tree to go get the cat down.
I love he's climbing this vertical, straight up, ridiculous tree, and the scenes are clearly this tree is laid down on the ground and he's just crawling on it. But then he gets up to the cat, holds onto the cat, and as you would to come down, he turns around. Like you're going to turn around and walk down the tree.
Right. Like you're walking down a flight of steps.
Stuff. I like that.
Just think about this, though.
Yeah.
Have you ever seen a cat skeleton in a tree?
No, because cats, they'll get themselves down.
Yeah.
And on my life, if John Candy climbed that, I'm really struggling today. On my life, okay, if John Candy climbed that tree, then I'm a monkey's uncle, okay? John Candy tore that tree down before he ever climbed up on that thing. That thing would break in half.
Well, I just love the cat kept going higher and higher, it almost seemed, by the time he was almost at the very tip of the tree.
They actually do that.
No, I know. I just think it's funny.
10 points for realism there.
Yeah.
Oh, every scene you see him looking down going, oh, he's about a foot off the ground. Or maybe on the ground.
Yeah, he's probably still on the ground.
Right? They're just shooting the camera upwards and they put a branch behind him, in the shot. Did you find anything on Brian Grazer?
I did. Sorry, I was enjoying the conversation. Pretty much his producing career started in 1978.
Okay.
He only had 2 things in 1978, and then it came into full swing in the 80s. So 1982, he had Night Shift.
Okay.
84, he had Splash. 85, he had Real Genius.
Oh, yeah.
85, Spies Like Us.
See, I forgot he had been part of Splash, so that was probably his first big mega hit.
And then after 1985 with Spies Like Us was 1986, Armed and Dangerous.
So he had a handful of decent movies in his back pocket by then.
Night Shift was a favorite.
Oh, yeah. Night Shift
Night
was
Shift.
great.
Yes.
It was Michael Keaton, right?
Yes.
Yeah, I haven't seen that in forever. All right, so after he gets rescued out of the tree, which apparently the fire department has to come and get the cop out of the tree along with the cat, and so it turns into this whole production. It cuts into the theme song, Armed and Dangerous, and I wish I'd printed out the lyrics because these 80s title sequence songs are always so incredible. We should have celebrated it, but that's okay. Basically, he's a cop for about 5 more minutes in the movie. John Candy, I gotta stop calling him John Candy. Frank Dooley rolls up on a CD store, which I always laugh in these 80s movies, like, we got compact discs on the front window.
That's a big deal.
It was a huge deal, right?
Carrying out a tube TV.
That's right. He doesn't call for backup. He sees these guys in the with flashlights going through the store and pulls it back in the back alley, and there's another car there. And these two guys are walking out with these tube TVs like they're stealing them.
Yeah.
But they're cops. They're two plainclothes cops stealing televisions.
Right.
Why? This is the dumbest plot device in a crime movie maybe ever.
They had to catch him up in something to get him thrown off the force.
You're the worst dirty cop.
If that's all you're doing is stealing TVs.
If your way you're getting over the edge is popping a couple TVs in your car.
And if you are a plainclothes type cop also, you would know that you don't go around with, big old flashlights in a closed store, with the lights off and stuff, to do these things.
Well, right. And that one guy, he's tinier than John Candy, and he launches the TV straight at John Candy from a standing still position.
Right.
And I'm like, have you ever picked up a tube TV?
These things
you
are
not launching it like a shot put.
No.
There's no way.
How much money could they possibly be making on their television enterprise?
They were getting paid $4.60 an hour. TV had to be
not the cops.
$30.
Not the cops.
The armed security, right?
The cops were. It just seems like of all the movies where there's been dirty cops doing dirty stuff, the lamest thing so far has been these guys taking televisions out of this electronics store.
You guys smuggling drugs? No. Man, that would have been so much better idea.
Right, you extorting businesses, which we find out later they are.
No, I steal TVs.
I would just take TVs, just a couple every 3 months.
When I'm getting my fix on.
And so they frame him just by getting a TV. They get a TV into his hands.
Yep.
And then they push him again. They pull their guns on him. At that exact moment, 17 other cops pull into the alley.
We got him, guys.
And one of them is IA. This was the funniest thing to me. Internal Affairs. Like, why are you here?
Yeah.
Get everybody down there right now. There's people stealing TVs.
Honestly.
I'm in IA. I don't care. Get down there.
He's being framed as a dirty cop, and Internal Affairs also happens to show up to bust these guys pulling TVs out of the back of this electronics store.
Well, maybe they were there to get the other cops because somebody found out.
Well, then they don't already know it was the other cops.
Incompetence. It happens.
There's all kinds of things. In the police force? Yeah, right.
Los Angeles?
I also feel like, here's the other thing. Again, this is the first of many plot contrivances in this movie. This is, as a film, why it falls apart. It would have been so easy to prove Frank Dooley's innocence. Frank ends up going to court and losing his job. They dismiss the charges because he's already lost his job, and they're like, we're not going to press charges.
And I think that's the thing. He's not even to the point where he's going to defend himself yet.
Right.
The prosecutor legitimately just says, like, hey, since we've already fired him and fined him from his job, why don't we just drop the charges? And he's like, do I fight these charges or do I take the drop charges and find a job?
No, so what he should have done is prosecuted them because it would have been insanely easy to prove himself innocent. And here's how. When the guys walk out, they have no gloves on. None. Their fingerprints would have been all over the store and all over the televisions. Frank had gloves on.
This is the 80s, though.
He literally, when they show him with the TV, he's wearing gloves.
Yeah.
This is the 80s. They didn't know how to dust for fingerprints.
They didn't care.
They didn't care. Okay.
But, here's the other thing, too. We don't know how deep up into this criminal organization these crooked cops is.
Oh, they're pretty deep as we go through the movie.
We see further on that they just wanted a scapegoat out of this. Let's keep going.
Any effort on Frank's part could have easily proven him. I mean, he's such a good cop. The whole movie, like, oh, I'm a good cop. I was a good cop. He's a terrible cop. He gets stuck in a tree. He can't fight his way out of this bogus charge, which would have been easy to do. And then later on, as we'll get into, he makes more boneheaded decisions.
Well, and again, that's where I kind of feel I had a hard time sometimes believing that John Candy was this hero.
Right.
You know, maybe that's where he becomes a bumbling idiot because he doesn't know how to do the things like you're talking about where it, goes, gets himself, I'm trying to think of the word, sorry. Mm-hmm. And just basically gets him off the charges.
Yeah, and I think this is my big problem with the movie more than anything. If I boil it down, is I just don't like John Candy's character in this movie. Whereas before, in a lot of the movies he's in, he's super likable, and I think I maybe liked some of his antics, when I was a kid. But the more I watch this, Frank Dooley's just a dick in this movie.
He's bitter and
sarcastic, bitter,
which I don't like John Candy doing. Right. I mean, I'll leave that to other people. It was really off-putting for me.
Yeah.
And
well, I think that's maybe you nailed it better worded than I did earlier. But yeah, I think that's basically you nailed how I felt about it. Is it just doesn't seem to be John Candy's character, and maybe that's typecasting. But
yeah,
he seems like such a lovable guy that he wouldn't be in a role like that.
Well, written for Belushi, I mean, that's...
Yeah.
Well, that's what I'm saying.
That's where it would have worked.
Amazing, yeah.
100%. 100%. And, not everybody is right for every role. And so I think Candy might have just been miscast through no fault of his own here. Maybe it should have been flipped and he could have been Norman and they find somebody else to be Frank Dooley. I'm sure he could have done that as well. But, I mean, Eugene did a good job, too. But this is where we actually meet Eugene because in the courtroom right after Frank is essentially dismissed of the charges and let go as a cop, we see Norman Kane, played by Eugene Levy, come in with, I don't know, what, Charlie Manson's little cousin or something?
Right. Yeah. Charlie Manson ripoff.
That's who that's supposed to be. He's got the swastika.
He gets knocked over. It's like, thanks for that.
And the guy basically tells him this crazy person he's defending, if I go to jail, I'm going to kill you.
Yeah.
Perfectly logical.
Perfectly logical. But that sets up the comedy of the scene, which is, okay, there's just, I'm assuming, a pile of evidence against the guy. And Eugene's got to figure out how to convince the judge not to send him to jail.
Right.
Right?
He's like, he goes through the list of charges, right? He's like, well, this and this, pretty much he didn't. Yeah, whatever. Those aren't a big deal. Like, all right, well, what about kidnapping and whatever the racketeering or whatever the other ones were? And it's like, oh, he didn't mean it.
They found a rug made out of human hair. Well, bad taste.
Taste isn't a crime.
And to me, the thing, and I know I would never have laughed at this as a kid, but Eugene's performance here is fantastic. And when he says, "You are by far the worst lawyer I've ever seen," he goes, "Oh, well, then I move for a mistrial." It's like, it was incredible.
Yeah.
And basically, he says, "You have to stop being a lawyer." The judge says, "I'll put this guy in jail so long he can never get you. But you've got to go find a new job." Yeah, right, with less responsibility because you're terrible at this. And so this is the setup. Basically, this is just all the machinations of the film to move the pieces into place to get into the actual premise of the movie, which is Frank and Norm as security guards working together.
Right.
This recruit class would be so much fun to hang out with at the pizza joint. You know what I'm saying? Yes. This would be an absolute riot.
Yeah, so it's called Top Guard, or is it Guard Dog? Guard Dog Security. And they basically, it looks like one of these places where they literally give people jobs off the street.
Yeah. Class of Thursday.
3 p.m.
At 3 p.m. He's like, "Congratulations," when he got his diploma. And you're like, "Yeah, class of Thursday at 3:30. And I don't know how many of these guys, they don't drug test, that's clear.
Yeah.
At least not yet. Right?
I loved everybody in there. It was like, it was like the the Dragon movie we watched last.
Last Dragon.
Last Dragon.
Yes.
The whole 80s scene when like everybody's inside the movie theater.
Yes.
It's literally everybody, but they're all trying out for
every
security
80s
guards.
every 80s stereotype is present and accounted for.
It's just great.
You got the immigrant.
Yep.
Right. You got the burnout.
You got the workout guy that's on. Where's Bob when you need him? The cocaine and pre-workout.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Kakalovich.
Kakalovich.
Yeah.
Oh man.
You got the criminal who's in there and just wants to be on the other side of it.
The guy who doesn't like liars.
Yeah. Yeah. So if he's lying to me, does that mean I can shoot him?
Use your best judgment.
Use your best. So that's the thing. I'm like, okay, let's just talk about this security company for a minute because they're pulling these guys in off the street. I'm assuming there's a high turnover rate at these jobs, but they're giving them guns
because they are legitimately pounding everybody out.
They're
who
patsies.
Screws up. Yeah.
Right. Well,
They're fall guys.
for them specifically at the warehouse, yes, but not everybody is, I'm assuming, getting put at a place where they're just there to, go on lunch while it gets robbed.
Well, they're hiring idiots.
Yes.
They're hiring unhirables. And then the places get robbed. They blame them. They send them off somewhere. Because, look at the guys at the toxic waste place.
Right.
Well, let's not jump ahead. Let's not jump ahead.
Oh, yeah. Well,
Okay.
I love our union reps who show up here momentarily to explain how the union dues and everything work.
Yeah, so I've never been part of a union, but this seemed like, I don't know exactly how it probably is.
yeah. So,
Talk to me about it.
having been a member of a union,
The shoe salesman.
the shoe salesman union,
Shoe salesman union.
back in the day,
Yes.
The SSU.
there's a lot of coercion and political force behind it.
Mm-hmm.
And, there's always going to be alleged, Jimmy Hoffa type stuff.
Just shut up and sign the paper.
Right.
So when these two guys roll in to basically be like, okay, you're all part of the union. These are the dues. You got to pay them. Shut up. Thank you very much. That's pretty accurate.
Pretty accurate.
You want the job. It's a union shop.
I know it's played for comedy, but I felt like that was probably the most realistic thing they depicted in the entire movie.
Spot on.
Was the union stuff.
Spot on.
Yeah.
I'm not going to say the corruption's part of it, but the forced entry in a union shop.
Yeah.
If you want to work there, you got to sign a card.
Right. And so these two guys, Klepper and Lazarus, who is Jonathan Banks, well known from Breaking Bad. Right?
Awesome.
And Brian James, thank you, who I will always think of as the ponytail guy from Tango and Cash.
Sure.
Is the other guy. And just the two classic 80s bad guys. And like when you look at them, you're like, these are the bad guys.
Yeah.
Like the second they walk in the door, before they've said or done anything, right?
They are the definition of 80s bad guy.
And Mike from Breaking Bad.
Yeah.
That was his character there.
Right.
He did not change a lick from this role to all the way to the end of Breaking Bad.
It's true. Well, they're extorting these guys basically, and they're making $4.60 an hour.
$30 due up front to sign up, but we'll take it out of your first week's check.
Your first week's check's not going to be enough to cover it.
$15 dues.
That's what I'm saying. It's like always like about $50 all in.
Yeah.
And that's about what they're going to make in a week. They said I think it was $46, right?
But think they're there to
10
negotiate
hours.
on their behalf for the benefit of the employer or employees.
But if I work a bajillion hours,
No, yeah, it's like $12.6 billion. So if I work 3 billion hours, I could roughly pull in about 12 billion.
That's right. And that's the guy that actually makes that point. I want to bring him up because he's great too. The guy's name is Larry Hankin, right?
Yeah, Kakalovich.
Yeah, Koklovich. Larry Hankin is one of those dudes that's just like in every movie in the 80s. He was Doobie in Planes, Trains, and Automobiles. He was driving the taxi. Yeah. He was the cop that answered the phone when Kevin McAllister called the police or whatever. Kevin's mom called the police in Home Alone, right? He's been in tons. Those are the two that come just straight off the top of my head. But he's been
he was Billy Madison.
Yeah, he was Carl.
Yeah, he was Carl.
In Billy Madison.
Yeah,
right.
That was one of my favorite roles.
But he's
you know
great
that
in this
laugh
movie.
that Larry does?
Yes. Which is kind of weird because he's all buttoned up in a suit in that movie, and he's usually more like burnout type guy.
He's one of those guys that's just fun.
Yeah, everything he's in. And then out of nowhere, Meg Ryan shows up in this movie teaching, I don't know, the best marksmanship class I've ever seen depicted. All right, the bullets come out real fast, okay? All right,
don't
guys.
point it at yourself.
And that's literally the only instruction she gives. Watch out, be careful, the bullets come out real fast.
Wait till I'm done down here, then you can shoot.
You can shoot. The best, though, is Larry Hagen just firing it in the air.
And like a dove comes down or something. Yeah, it's a pigeon.
Oh, my gosh. Those, as I'm watching those guys fire off these guns, Mel, all I thought of was you and how stressed out you would be if you were presiding over this marksmanship class.
This is what it feels like to teach a class on shooting. Everybody's an idiot.
You must assume
You have to
all
assume
idiots.
that you're pretty much teaching this class.
Okay, 'cause I know how much you are for like gun safety and stuff, because I've been shooting with you, and I just knew you'd be having a conniption.
Oh, no, it was fun.
Well, and this
I took a friend to the range.
Okay.
And he brought his, at the time, wife. And she's got this 357. You know what I mean? She goes and fires this thing 1 round downrange and turns around and looks at all of us. Like, so smiley and everything like that. It's like,
And you all hit the deck?
whoa. You know what I mean? It's like, what the heck is going on? Everybody is an idiot.
Got it.
Assume
Yeah.
it, because one of them might be.
Got it.
I can say that people have been kicked before because they turn when they're in a fighting position and they turn around.
Sure.
They've been kicked.
Wow.
I just thought it was funny that it sets up the whole trope of, bad guy, or, good guy doesn't know how to use a gun.
Yes.
Other guy knows how to use a gun.
Oh, that's
Humor ensues.
That's total
Yes.
buddy cop movie trope, right? Absolutely. The super effective one and the incapable one.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
And he's shooting it all over the place, hitting the ground.
Right, where Frank...
You just got killed by a
He's
perpetrator.
hitting boulders 300 yards past the range. You know?
Yeah.
And then right after this, they gather everybody inside for maybe one of my favorite parts of the movie. Raise your right hand. I state your name.
State your name. Yeah.
And then they starts reading the thing off, and it's just everybody saying something different at the same time.
No, absolutely.
Fantastic. That will always be hilarious. 500 people trying to recite something at the same time, and the only one who's locked in is Eugene Levy's character the entire time.
And John Candy says, not a word.
Not a word. Well, he's above it all, kind of, right? Yeah. His character, ex-cop, he's above it all. But as you would imagine, they get assigned together. Eugene Levy and John Candy, who would have thunk, are partners, and they get assigned to guard this pharmaceutical warehouse. And this is the first time they've been given a job. And their boss on the job is Tiny Lister is in this movie.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
It was awesome.
He's great. I didn't know he was
First thing I ever saw him in was No Holds Bar.
Oh, Zeus?
And then, when he actually starred in the WWF at that
bro.
time. Yeah, that was great.
That was awesome. Him against Hogan.
Yeah.
We got to do No Holds Barred.
We should.
See,
Is
I
it
didn't
on
know
the
he was
list?
actually a wrestler.
He wasn't at this point he was just an actor. He had done a couple of things. This wasn't his first movie. And then Vince had the idea when they did No Holds Barred to bring him into the WWF to promote the film
Oh, gotcha.
and have him actually wrestle Hogan. So
Yeah.
he wrestled for like 6 months. I mean, he wasn't there for a long time.
No, but I mean, he was part of a pretty popular storyline. I mean,
Yes. Oh, well,
It was
yeah.
like when they brought T in
was like
after
at the
Mr. T.
Yeah, it was like the height of Hulkamania, right?
Yeah.
Well, maybe in 1989 it was just starting to come down, but still, it was still a pretty big deal.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
But Tiny Lister tells them to take a lunch immediately just so they can rob the place, essentially.
Yeah.
They're there. He's watching Mutiny on the Bounty on the TV.
Yeah.
John Candy's passed out. They're working for $4.60
Well,
an
at
hour.
that point, they were on their break for 15 minutes already, but you can't take your break in a workspace.
Right.
You got to go to the lunchroom. Well, he wanted them out of there so they could.
So they could rob the joint.
Hijack
Right.
the
Yeah.
place, right?
Makes
And then
sense.
this is when Norman goes and gets his lunch. And
Yeah,
finds
because
out
he
what's
can't do
going on.
anything right.
Right.
Like, he can't even do lunch right. All he's supposed to do
Yeah.
is go eat his lunch. And he has to go to his car. And there are these guys in ski masks. And here's the thing.
Oh, so good.
Jonathan Banks should never wear a ski mask because you can immediately tell it's him.
Exactly. It was,
Even in a ski mask. He's got the eyes. You know what I
Yeah.
mean, right?
I think that was the 100% intention of let's get these guys in a ski mask somehow because these two characters, you're going to immediately know exactly who they are.
Yeah.
Hey, fellas, ski masks? Really? It's not even that cold.
Right. Well, we're authorized to take this down, Father. Oh, says you, right? But I got to check it out at the office or like whatever. He's like legitimately trying to be a security guard.
Right.
Which I kind of love that about him.
Yeah.
Right. And he's really serious about how he's got to check, first of all, he's at one point an idiot because he doesn't realize they're robbing the place.
Yeah.
Right.
While also trying to do his job by actually checking it out and being effective as a security guard. But neither of those things were the right thing to do.
Right.
No.
In that order, they were the wrong thing. He should have assumed they were stealing stuff.
Right.
And then tried to do security
And
guard
then tried
stuff.
to do security guard stuff.
Not the other way around.
Right. But not like, let me check your invoice type
Right.
of security guard stuff. Right.
He needed to put that hour and a half of training to use.
Right. What was that afternoon on a Thursday spent doing, if not learning how to handle a highly volatile situation like this one?
I mean,
His training failed him.
he
In the
failed.
moment.
He failed his training.
Trash can full of dirt award.
Awesome.
Also, at this point, they've also ran, because again, plot contrivances, they randomly have dogs in a building, guarding the inside of a building.
Because John Candy really wanted to bite the snout of a dog.
Yes.
Well, and I love the whole before that, he's basically calling them for backup.
Right.
And he's running and dodging bullets.
Well, these guys are like hip firing these machine guns while
Yeah.
they're like strafing across the parking lot, and nobody's getting hit by anything.
And then they leave. And then, let's get out of here. And then
Right.
that's when he runs in. There's all these guard dogs.
Why?
And they're chasing him.
What are they
which is-
guarding in there?
I don't know, but I think it just sets up the comical gag of these two trying to fight off a group of dogs.
There's a sign on the door. Beware, killer dogs.
Yes.
Yeah. It's to keep the perpetrators out.
Right.
Can't
And,
be stealing pharmaceuticals.
and Eugene is basically backed into a corner by these killer dogs. And John Candy shows up and goes full Arnold Schwarzenegger on these dogs.
Yes.
Yeah.
Right? Because we know
Just jacking them in the face.
punching animals is an Arnold
Yeah,
thing
he's just
for sure.
beating these dogs off one by one.
Wait, he was doing
He's
what?
what?
He was beating the dogs off one by one, like he was punching them and fighting them.
With
Oh.
both hands?
Yes.
Both hands. He was
Yes.
just double fisting these dogs.
Wait, hold on.
What a mess.
Every time I think you're not,
What?
what was he doing?
What?
He was punching the dogs.
Yes,
w-
okay,
with both,
okay, that's what I thought.
Right, with both
Punching the
fists.
dogs. Right, got it.
Right. And so, in a move that must have made Arnold insanely jealous when he saw it, because in his next movie, he was punching even more animals.
Yes.
I didn't realize there was like a rivalry between the two.
John Candy and Arnold
John
Schwarzenegger.
Candy and Arnold Schwarzenegger.
They're like basically the same person.
Basically.
Yeah,
basically. They probably weigh the same, just at different shapes.
Would John Candy make this movie better? The new segment.
Hey, round is a shape.
It is. I just said different shapes. But okay, so here's the thing: the guys get away. But Dooley and Norman are the ones that are fined for screwing up.
Yes. How do you get fined for screwing? I don't get that part.
Yeah, that didn't make any sense.
Read your union contract.
You get a fine for the place being robbed by machine gunned.
Right. And you were
People.
supposed to do something with your 6-shooter
Right. And an hour and a half of training.
and an hour and a half of training. $100. You got to quit at that point because you're not making anything for 3 weeks.
I mean, like you're making $46 for 10 hours, right?
Yeah.
Before dues and all this, that, the other thing. You know, your first week's paycheck is going to be like $16. The second week's a little better because they're not taking that 30 again.
Right.
You know.
It would be about, I saw somewhere, did the math, it'd be about $11 an hour nowadays is what they're making.
That's pretty terrible for
That's-
security.
That's crazy.
So fun story. I got a couple of them during
Yeah.
this movie. I watched this with my wife, and as you guys know, my wife's a bit younger than me. She was born in like 3 years after this movie was
A
made.
bit younger.
A bit younger.
Right.
So
She's Bob's age.
well, that's okay. I mean, for me. So the best part was that she was like, "Man, $4.50 an hour. Can you imagine?" And I was like, "Yes, yes, I can."
It was $4.25.
425 when I got.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was
Jewel
like, when I
Osco,
was working
baby.
at McDonald's down the road from Jewel. I'm making $4.25 an hour.
That's right,
I
man.
was like,
I was
I was happy when I got up to $6.50. Get
I was
out of
15
here.
sweeping a machine shop. I started at $5 an hour, you know?
Oh my gosh.
I mean, when I was making $7.50, I thought that was a big deal. I was like, yes.
I remember when we were in school, and Clinton raised the minimum wage.
Yes.
And I want to say he raised it to like $4.75.
$4.75, yeah.
And everyone was like, "Let's go!"
Yeah, people were out getting jobs like crazy.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, no, it was funny.
That's hysterical. I wish I did watch this by myself. I should have had my daughters. A lot of times will watch these with me.
Yeah.
And this was just me and my wife, and so she obviously is the same age and didn't didn't blink
Didn't
an eye.
phase her, yeah.
But if my daughter had been in there, I'm sure it would have been.
But
what did he just say?
There was the moment I had to pause the movie because I was like, "What?" And I always have to think like before I say anything to her because I go, "Oh yeah, that's right. You're a lot younger than me. Sorry about that." Yeah. So
Yes.
yeah, no, yeah. It wasn't $7 an hour. Yes, it was $4.25.
And I was part of a union as a young man because Jewel
Yeah.
was part of a union.
Absolutely.
But I never got to go to one of these because the next scene is them going to a union meeting. But I got to imagine, is this how these really are? Has any of you ever been to a union meeting?
Yes.
Okay. Is this similar to how they really go? Where anyone that asks a question, they're just like, "Oh, break your legs. Yeah, shut up. Shut up."
It's not that
You
bad.
shut your mouth.
But
It's
what
implied,
they'll tell you,
Shut up and sign the effing paper.
you ask a question and they'll question, well, you don't show up to enough union meetings, so why are you even talking?
Oh, God.
Point of parliamentary procedure.
Robert's Rules of Order.
See, that's another scene where Norm was a hero, man. I loved the guy in this movie, right? I mean, he was starting, especially by the end, he was feeling himself, right? He got enough people cheering, and he was like,
what?
"All right, yeah." He was feeling himself.
Oh.
He wasn't.
That sounds inappropriate.
In a room full of people?
So basically, yes, Norman filed a grievance because of the fine that they got.
Gotcha.
But everything here is clear. Anytime we ask a question, I was getting frustrated. I'm not even part of this fake. It's not even a real union.
Yeah.
It was a movie union.
But you're getting frustrated.
And I'm getting frustrated because anytime anybody asks a question, "Oh, well, that's a fiscal question." So, we got to talk to Lou. And then Principal Strickland gets up there, right? And he's like, basically just says, "Oh, come on, guys. We've always done good. Boy, all right, forget about it. That's it." I'm like, that was the answer to the question?
I legitimately,
Seems legit.
That came up. I'm like, this guy does not know how to use it.
I love that that's where you went, but I went where Clint went. I was like, "Oh, that's Masters of the Universe guy right there." That's the
I
cop.
literally went, Strickland does not know how to use a shotgun. I put them both on.
That's awesome.
But what kind of answer to, "Hey, we've always been cool, right? All right, thanks, guys. Forget about it."
Yeah.
Like, that's the answer he basically gets.
Well, and just before this, I don't know if this is key for knowing the timeline of the movie.
Yeah.
But we also find out just before this that Maggie's dad is the captain of the
that's my dad.
security guards.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
And what's his name calls him a poop head.
So what's the guy's actual name? Played by Ken McMillan, right?
Yes.
What's the guy's name? I don't remember. Doesn't matter. But yes, curly hair, old guy.
Yeah.
I feel like it should be O'Malley if it wasn't.
So
O'Malley.
he is O'Malley. Okay, so
O'Malley, yeah.
O'Malley is the head
From
of the
now on.
security guards.
Yeah. So anyway, I just wanted to throw that out there.
But
yeah.
Robert, this is the first time we really get a glimpse at Robert Loggia, who's the Michael Carlino. He's the head of the union. He also, we find out, owns top security or guard dog security. Gave the guy the loan to start the thing.
Who do you think really owns?
Yeah.
That's
Guard
right.
Dave
Dog
O'Malley,
Security?
the money, right?
You work for me.
And he basically turns to Norman at the end and he goes, "If you ever come to another union meeting, I'm going to break your legs." Like, can the president of the union just in front of everybody say
Just
stuff
start
like
I
that?
threatening
think if
people.
anybody could, he's the guy.
Well,
I
remember,
guess.
this is when the mob was really big into the unions, the Teamsters and stuff in the
Yeah,
80s.
that's when.
So because he raised his stink, they get assigned to a landfill with Kokovich.
Yeah, garbage duty. Yeah.
Now, they're literally walking through a landfill. It's uneven footing. They can't quite keep their balance. I don't know if any of you listening at home have ever actually been to a landfill.
Yeah.
Okay. It's
Nasty,
awful.
terrible. It was 105 degrees when I was there.
It was okay, so you've been to one.
Oh, man.
It's enough to make you just getting out of the car. You want to vomit inside. I mean, the smell hits your face.
I had hopped out of a truck to dump just trash.
Yeah.
And, dump truck, we had to go and, release the lever at that time to undo the lock and let the thing go up. I
Yeah.
hopped out. I stepped on the ground. I hit the lever. And I was going to get back in the truck, and I dry heaved so hard my balls hurt.
This
This is a
dude.
place to not be. These guys are all comfortable walking around. I was like, that's not a real landfill.
It's either not a real landfill or their noses are plugged or something. I mean,
Yeah.
I don't know how they shot this scene. Have you guys ever been to one?
Yes.
Thank you. I mean,
It's bad.
It's really bad.
It is bad.
Yeah.
And there's one, and so I've been to one, and that was never again. But even there was one kind of north of here in Wisconsin that I just drove by one summer, and the wind was blowing the right way, and with my windows down, and I was like, I had to roll my windows up. I mean, it was awful.
That's what it's like in Gray's Lake all the time.
I mean, I'm a plumber, so I mean,
I know.
I've smelled a zillion things that you probably wouldn't want to smell.
Liquid gold.
I know. There's
Yeah.
nothing like a landfill,
Yeah.
man.
But that's where I get my toothbrushes.
That was awesome. He's like, hey, I found a comb.
That's right.
Like, I think I saw a red toothbrush. A red? It's a matching set.
Barely
This
used.
is a gold mine.
Yeah, Kokovich is very
Find another
excited.
shoe that looks like this one. Let me know.
Walk around with the basket shopping.
He's very excited to be at this landfill, Kokovich.
Yeah, when he says the toothbrush is 3 miles away, he's like, where?
3 ounce. Yeah.
It's going to match this real good.
And then the next list that got posted is a toxic waste dump.
Oh my gosh, yes, the guy with the missing teeth.
These guys make $4.60 an hour. Why are they still there? He said, we've been here 3 weeks.
Yeah.
I'm going to quit. I'm like, you probably should have quit 3 weeks ago when
I
you
lost
first
2 more
got
teeth
there.
today.
There are these two, basically, they get to the toxic waste dump and this trailer. You have to guard. First of all, why are you guarding toxic waste? 2, the trailer opens up and these 2 security guards basically fall out of it. Hair is all falling out.
Yeah.
I'm lost 3 more teeth today. He's got like 2 teeth hanging in the front.
That's one of my favorite bits, though, because John Candy and Eugene Levy are just playing it so great.
The reactions are perfect.
When they would step towards him and they would step back, like, please don't talk to us. Don't touch us. It's just like, oh.
Don't eat or drink anything while you're here.
Yeah.
He's like, no, I'm not.
Well, and they find out.
They're there
you know,
because of the heist that happened 2 days before their heist. you know?
Right.
This is the thing that kicks off the investigation.
Sure.
Is they find out they were basically in the same situation.
Yeah, they're patsied.
They're patsied, and the same people told them to go to lunch right before the place got robbed. And so Frank, being a cop, is like, okay, something's going on.
This is where we meet Turbo.
Yeah, I was going to say Ice from American Gladiators, yeah. At the gym.
So the first thing they do is they go to this place called Sports Fit. In this, like,
Which also has our BMR pattern.
it does.
The
That's what I'm
sweet
saying.
Pattern behind
the 80s, the 80s-ness of this place, this workout.
Oh, yeah.
place
It's great.
is awesome. And what people used to wear to work out in the 80s, that's the
Dialed
biggest
in.
loss.
That
They were
was
dialed
perfect.
in.
Leg warmers.
The whole 9 yards.
So great.
Right? People now, you go to the gym and they're just like, whatever they rolled out of bed.
It was like a gem in the holograms
Right.
set up in there.
People used to give a crap about what they went to the gym in.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, it was like, I'm
Pre-workout
just wearing
cocaine.
sweatpants.
That's right.
I don't care.
I'm gonna wear sweatpants and the shirt I drooled on while I was asleep.
Yeah.
That's how it is now.
In
Yeah.
the 80s, they dressed outrageous. Truly,
Right?
Truly
outrageous.
Well, they wanted to get physical.
Yeah. Let's
You
get
know what I'm saying?
physical.
That's what they said.
Yeah. Hear my body talk.
Well, they walk in, and here's something I want you guys to do at home, and you guys can do it here in the room too, because as you said, the girl behind the counter, you could call her Ice from
Yeah,
American Gladiator,
yeah.
but her name is Tegan Clive, and what I want you guys to do,
More like Clive
she
Teagan.
was look
Good
up the
Lord.
movie Alienator from 1990.
Okay.
Come on.
Look up Alienator from 1990, and if you think I'm not adding this to our list,
That's a doofus.
Oh my gosh, this looks awesome. Oh, I want to see this so bad.
is there a synopsis that you can read?
Oh, give me a second.
He went to Antioch. He can't read.
She was in a couple movies there that I thought would be good. She was in this movie.
Here's just a quick one. A space commander sends a female android to Earth to destroy an escaped convict.
That's right, and she's the android. And
That plays.
she also was in a Sinbad movie with Lou Ferrigno in 1989, where Lou Ferrigno played Sinbad. And I'm like, both of these movies have got to happen.
I love this.
Yeah. That's Tegan Clive is her name. And they go into this sports fit, and they're trying to get past them. You see what I'm talking about?
Okay, Alienator. All right. IMDb. What do you think out of 10? 3.2.
Oh, this would be our lowest one ever.
With 59% people liking the movie.
Because
How is that possible?
Iron Eagle 2 was a 3.8, and that was our previous low. So we'll have to look into it. But yeah,
This looks amazing.
that's what I'm talking about. So they walk into the sports fit, and this is the second movie after Low Down Dirty Shame where they're trying to get past somebody to get into a gym to find someone in the middle of an investigation.
I know we just got off this topic, but I seriously sign me up for that movie. Put me on it. I need to be on that podcast episode.
All right, we'll do.
Thank you.
Promise. And they're trying to get past. They're trying to sneak past Teague and Clive, who they tell, like, oh, we're interested in becoming members. Get somebody to give you the tour, but they just take off.
Yeah.
And end up hiding from her in an aerobics class, and
They're doing the moves in the back.
They're doing the moves in the back. And there's, again, people don't dress like this anymore to come to work out at the gym.
Even the guys were dressed in
saying.
bright, just neon pink.
Richard
and-
Simmons.
Yeah.
I think we've really
clothing.
we've really lost something culturally in America when it just seems so bleh now
Yeah.
from a fashion standpoint.
Although spandex is coming back.
Is it?
It is.
Okay.
Better. And the tall hair. I want it all.
They inevitably find Tiny Lister, Bruno, who is who they chased into this.
Hey, we don't talk about Bruno.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'll call him Tiny. They find him, working out on a workout bench, and their big plan is to, I don't know how to
Interrogate him?
Well, they're going to interrogate him. I'm trying to describe. They basically wrap a cord around his neck and pull him
Yeah, it's a jump rope.
under the weight that has been pulled down, and Eugene Levy falls on the bar to keep the
weight up
above his head.
Right.
And his ability to do physical comedy here is on full display because it's hilarious. Him trying to hold on.
Yeah.
to this thing with
like
his-
he's
slipping
acting
out of
like
his
he's
arms
not
all the
strong enough
time.
to hold it. Right.
Like where Tiny was holding it no problem doing like reps.
Sure.
But he's got his whole body leaning on the thing and he can barely hang on.
Yeah. Well, and it makes for a great interrogation scene too, because John Candy is feeding off of that, going,
Yeah.
I don't know if he can hold this.
Yeah. Oh, he's gonna drop. Oh, that one got close.
Yeah, and then they get the information, which is basically just that somebody told him to tell them.
Yeah, he doesn't know. He was just doing what he was told.
Right.
Right.
This is kind of where the movie starts to fall apart structurally. So they run out of there after it's probably a good idea to run. Lister chases them through the place. The welcoming committee tries to catch them at the door, which is Teague and Clive and her two manservants, right? Get them, girls. Yeah, brother. Yeah, brother.
Yeah, and John Candy straight up jacks her in the face.
Right. Just like punching her right in the face.
Yes. No care.
filter.
No
No
filter
nothing.
at all. They run out, and I think what helped them get away is that Tiny Lister ran through the lobby twice because the editing in this movie was so good. He had to run through the lobby two different times as they cut back, and that's what allowed them to get away. So the editor is really the reason
He had to go twice
they
as
had to
far.
go twice as far. And
He accidentally stood on one of those airport freaking walkways, looked around, was like, oh, crap.
the movie starts to fall apart here because the scenes now that they're in the actual investigation, this part just wasn't really well thought out, and really, I mean, the next scene is just like, and then this scene, and then this scene, and then this one. So they get the information from Lister, and then they're like, let's go meet Tony Burton, Apollo Creed's trainer from Rocky, and then I'm gonna randomly catch a shark.
Yeah, Cappy. They're getting
know.
another trope. Let's just go. Let's go talk to some random guy that used to be in the league and
Yeah.
knows how to steal and get all the info.
I mean, it's like
need.
it's
can't
like
take
cop
money
movie
from-
101.
Yeah.
I can't take money from you,
Right.
but I can take it from him.
But the
I only
scene
talk to
itself
Andrew
really
Jack.
didn't serve a purpose, and then
No.
especially the shark catching bit was total time waster, and it wasn't even that funny.
He got to break out his gun.
But it wasn't funny or purposeful or like didn't move
It was just
anything
awkward.
forward.
Yeah,
and it was awkward,
awkward. Yeah, that's a great
and
word.
it was
Yeah.
just like served no purpose.
I wonder if this is where the directors changed.
It could be.
Oh, that's a good
Because, I mean,
point.
the
Or that
entire film kind of changed.
Well, that's what I'm saying, or they just didn't have enough in the script. Like the setup and the premise is great, but once they got into the meat of it, they kind of ran out of steam because there just wasn't enough there. It was too thin.
It's like a 50-minute runtime. They started throwing in vignettes.
That's what I'm saying. And then their brilliant idea now is let's go to Meg Ryan's house and tell her dad's a crook.
Right.
Yeah.
Like these are their brilliant moves in their investigation.
He's peering through the peephole.
And then he's creeping on her. This is what I'm
he-
talking about. John Candy's character sucking in this movie.
But then he doesn't like see that she's coming towards the door and stop doing that.
Right.
Like,
Which
wait,
you would totally see.
You are the worst peeper ever.
Right. Meg Ryan's getting changed in the bedroom and he's straight up just looking through
And
the
man,
keyhole.
I miss being able to see through keyholes. It was just so much easier to know what was going
It
on.
was. But not a good look for the hero of the movie
No.
to be doing this. And Meg Ryan, poor girl, gets creeped on nonstop in this
Oh,
movie.
yeah.
Yeah.
Nonstop.
I must have a full set of his fingerprints on my behind. by
Yeah,
now.
right. And then so then there's the fishing scene with Tony Burton, and then he goes to Meg Ryan's house to tell her dad's a crook, which goes about as well as you think it would. And
Yeah,
John
Maggie kicks him out.
creeps on her through the door. Then they're at Tito Puente's bar. Okay, did you know that was Tito Puente leading that?
Puente, band leader.
Yeah, it was the band leader
Yeah.
of that band in this like Mexican bar, and I immediately thought of Stripes because John Candy was in Stripes.
Yes.
And then there's that moment where in the very beginning of Stripes when John Candy,
Mud Russels.
where Bill Murray, his girlfriend is leaving him at the very beginning of the movie, right?
Yes.
Tito Puente album.
Yes, he says. She says, "I'm tired of sitting here and listening to your Tito Puente albums until dawn." He says, "Tito Puente is fantastic. He's going to be dead one day, and you're going to say I've been listening to him for years." Right? And they had this whole conversation about Tito Puente.
And that's another great
Yeah.
Probably a Ramusism.
Ramus movie.
And then here he is. It maybe Ramus is the one that put him in the movie. Who knows? But it's just another random scene. And then these two like gorgeous women that I don't buy for a second are friends of Frank's.
Right.
Or would go anywhere with them.
Could they have been professional?
That was the original thought that I had too. Like
Yeah.
when watching it through this time, I was like, maybe Frank's not the cleanest cop in the world, and these are,
No, but they make sure that everyone knows they have no tan lines.
right.
yeah.
And then the old cops show up just to be jerks, just like randomly happen to be there. Again, just plot contrivance after plot contrivance. And then what? Frank punches them in the face and off they go.
Right.
yeah.
Okay. And then the first real development is now they're going to go to Michael Carlino's party. And this is the whole reason these girls were even needed in the script. Again, what I mean by a plot contrivance is means the plot needs something, so you manifest characters to serve this purpose just to move the plot forward, and then they disappear. They needed these two girls to go to this party with,
Right.
and then the girls disappeared, never to be seen or heard from again, because they were just needed as props essentially for this bit in this movie.
When they walked into this party, did either one of you guys want to see them dressed in an orange tuxedo?
Orange would have been better. Yeah.
I was like, man, just
Yeah,
a
they come
great
in looking like
Dumb and
lounge-
Dumber moment.
Yeah, they look like lounge singers.
Are
Yeah.
you part of the help?
Yeah,
Right, or the entertainment, yeah.
I truly wanted to come in today in a baby blue tuxedo,
It is classy.
but I do not own one.
Yes. So Michael Carlino, what was his party for? Do we even remember what this was for?
No,
It's just a random party.
Rich people do that.
Rich people party.
Having a rich people party.
And it's apparently where Carlino has girls that just wait in line to be fondled by him, right? Because it's like every scene he's got another girl that he's close talking to and creeping on.
Yeah.
And being super duper
Well, I think
weird.
that just makes him more of the bad guy.
Yeah.
Like they're really driving it home. What
Which
do you
is
call it?
fine.
Foreshadowing.
Which is fine, but the Meg Ryan scene really made me uncomfortable.
Sure.
Because he was like almost nose to nose with her. Like I hate close talking in general.
Yeah.
And he
It
was
makes
just
me highly
like
uncomfortable.
so close to her face talking to her, and she's so clearly, which is either great acting or she didn't need to act. Like I don't know.
Right.
Sure.
But she was so clearly uncomfortable in the moment, and he's trying to get her to go to bed with him.
That did lead to one comical part that I really enjoyed was when John Candy was lip reading.
He's a terrible lip reader.
Yeah.
No, he was perfect. But he was great at it.
He's hanging by the side of the party saying, all right, I'm going to read their lips.
Yeah, and he was just totally had set up a comical gag, which was I'm actually not a good lip reader, and he's just dragging Levy on to just
Right.
And Levy's like,
Yeah.
that's a great thing. I'm
yeah.
glad I asked.
Glad I stuck that out. Yeah.
Well, they wouldn't have even gotten in the door of the party without Koklovich being on the list. Like, why put him on the guest list?
Right.
He's the guy manning. He's the
The door?
the landfill guy.
Yeah.
is manning the door.
Him and the liar guy.
Right.
I hate liars. Yeah.
And
and then yet they're lying to him, which I think is just funny.
And they say that they're undercover. This is how they get in the door. Operation Scumbag is in full effect, and we got to get in there. These are our dates, and we're Pinky and McCarthus. We're not going to go under our...
Pincus and McCarthy.
Pincus, thank you.
Yeah.
Pinky in the brain. That's what I was thinking. And they get in because Koklovich is an idiot.
Gee, what are we going to do tonight, Brain? Everything we do every night. Pincus. Try to take over this party.
But then we get 10 minutes of this party is them walking around doing bits.
Yes.
And nothing actually happens until the very end. Although the one thing that I will never get tired of is Eugene Levy doing spit takes.
Yes. Oh my God.
Because he's so good at it.
If I would have known that this was going to be such a formal party, I would have worn underwear.
And he just spits his drink. I know it looks like something that would be easy to do, but to do a very good, funny spit take is not easy. And he's like a pro at it.
Here's the second funny story I want to share.
Yeah.
So at this moment, I have to pause the movie because my wife says, "Who is this guy?" I said, "Who?"
Jim's dad.
And she said, I said, "Eugene Levy?" And she's like, "Yeah."
What?
And I said, and I'm trying to think of what movies she's seen him in. And I'm going,
Yeah.
Well, the most recent thing we saw him in was Schitt's Creek.
Schitt's Creek, for sure.
And she's like, "No, that's not the same guy." And I was like,
That's Johnny Rose.
I was like, that is the same guy. I was like, I literally had to like do like a side by side and go, "Look." And she's like, "Oh, I see it now." And I was just like,
wow.
I felt so at that moment. I was like, no,
She hadn't seen Splash?
no, I don't think she
American
has.
Pie?
That all came out before. Well, American Pie, I think she's seen, but it was much later.
We'll just tell her
Because
that
that came out
we
when
ate
she
it all.
was probably in grade school.
One of the best lines in any comedy ever.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
Just tell her we'll ate it all.
But it was like a 15-minute conversation of trying to convince her that this is the same guy.
That's funny. Another one of these kind of comedy tropes in these buddy movies is being put in the stupidest and making ridiculous decisions just to be put in a position for physical
Are
comedy
you
to
talking
happen.
about in the steam room?
Yeah, let's hide in the steam room.
Well, I mean,
that's a good spot to eavesdrop from.
It was they weren't necessarily looking to eavesdrop. They were like, "Holy cow, they're coming. We still want to know what they're doing, but we don't have a place to hide."
Right.
First place, no good.
That's
is
fine.
The next available place that's open.
And I can even make that leap. That's not even my biggest issue with it. The biggest issue is then
Let's take a steam.
Robert's like, middle of my party, I'm going to need a big, long sauna session before I go back. It's like 9:30 at night or whatever. It's the middle of a hopping party. And they crank on the steam. They had to come to this. We have to have a reason for them to turn it on.
Yeah.
So that we could turn it on while these guys are in it. Ha ha ha. Isn't that hilarious?
Watch how they sweat it out.
Watch how they sweat it out. It's so dumb.
And then Levy's like, "Oh, it's
it's
hot. I need to get out of here." Yeah.
It's funny when they come out. I mean, them standing there in the sweaty tuxes is
All
very
steaming.
all steaming. It's funny, but it
Served no purpose.
It just not that it didn't serve a purpose. I mean, things in comedies all the time don't serve purposes that are still funny, but it wasn't. And you forgive a lot if it's actually funny. But what
It wasn't
But
funny.
what about what they did in that sauna was hilarious? It was just him putting Eugene in a headlock and basically choking him out while they're trying to listen to.
I mean, and we got the at that point there, it's when the girls become less useless. You know, they're not just
Yes.
arm candy at that point because she actually is understanding what he's wanting done here. So
Right.
it's like, all right, well, they're actually useful, but then they're gone.
Well,
Completely gone after that.
But the reason that they're there is because otherwise he's going to walk into the steam
Right.
room.
That's what I'm saying.
So they had to figure out how are we going to, after we had to have this horrible contrivance to have him turn on the steam room, but now we have to have a reason for him not to go in there.
Right. So
Because-
that actual scene
Yes.
made those girls necessary in the movie at all.
That's what I'm saying.
Right.
Yes, exactly. That's the whole reason that they were there. But Lou ends up getting killed because they, Principal Strickland, they bring him into this meeting, and this is where we find out we as an audience gets to eavesdrop
That they're stealing the pension money.
that they've liquidated all of the money in the union, and they're gonna rob themselves basically while they're moving the money.
Right.
They're gonna rob it, and then the insurance will take care of it. Forget about it.
Don't be
How's your mother? It's it's like
How's your mother? Tell her I said hello.
right.
Yeah.
And Lou is an absolute moron for not just being like, yeah, great idea, boss.
Right.
What are you thinking?
Like, no, you can't do that because then there's going to be an investigation. It's going to fall down on me. Don't be an a-hole.
All right. He's like, well, they're going to ask questions like, why'd you just liquidate everything? Which is true. They would.
Absolutely.
I think Tony and Floyd need to see your way home.
That's right. Like, bro. And also, never get in the car.
No.
Never get in the car. He already knew it was going to happen because he's already trying to tell him, hey, guys, I'll just disappear. How about we just tell him,
you're
we'll
going
forget
to
about
disappear.
it. Right? I'm like, he's like, get in the car. Don't ever get in the car.
Don't get in the car.
Ever.
This life
Ever?
advice brought to you by Bad Movies Rules.
That's right. Never get in the car, kids. Okay?
Not
Ever.
even if
All
they
right,
have
kids,
candy.
we're going to the mall.
No,
Don't do it.
That's fine. No. Mom and dad saying let's go to the mall
I'm
is
sorry.
okay.
We need more rules.
What about the bus?
You fight like crazy. Never get in the car. Okay.
Especially with Tony and Floyd.
That's right. And these guys get framed again. So this is when they decide, all right, now's our time to make our big move, Dooley and Norman. And they open fire on the two hitmen trying to save Lou's life, right?
And Lou gets return fired.
And Lou gets return fired. And they're immediately framed again.
Yeah.
For,
They shot Lou.
which again, I feel like would be super easy to prove that wasn't them.
There's two hitmen. They just shot my best friend.
Because
Two hitmen in bright blue tuxedos.
right. Not only
wear.
that, but there were people out there. Not only that, but there's such a thing as like
Direction that the shot came from.
ballistics also, right? Like matching casings or bullets to guns and, all that nonsense. So I feel like they're fine here.
Well, I felt another comedic moment that they could have had and that was kind of dropped was when John Candy's like, tells, Frank tells Norman to go get the car. And he just you see him bolting, but there's no, I would have liked to see maybe this some bobbing and weaving and maybe
Something.
ducking and rolling, something to sort of be like, oh, I'm trying not to get shot because he's obviously the bubbling buffoon in this. And it was just a straight, he's there and he's got the car.
It's a
That Civic is awesome.
it's a
by the way.
problem in the
It's
script.
bulletproof as well.
It's a problem in the script when you've got two comedic geniuses like John Candy and Eugene Levy, and the funniest guy in the movie is Koklovich. Do you know what I mean?
True.
Right?
Yeah.
It's just that's my biggest problem with the movie is considering the talent, it just wasn't funny enough, wasn't nearly funny enough. There are enjoyable moments, sure, but overall, I'm laughing more at other people than those two, and especially at this point. At this point, the bad guy goes, "Make sure everybody gets to their cars peacefully and quietly."
Yeah.
And there's Koklovich literally following guests with a gun, right?
And
Telling
he's
them to
just
get to their cars, and
Pulling
he's just
everywhere, yeah.
that's a way to get people to go to their cars peacefully. Follow them with a gun.
Yeah, and tell them to get.
Go on now.
Goodness.
Go on now, get. Yeah.
They get chased randomly from this mansion in the Hollywood Hills to an adult sex shop,
Yes.
peep show,
Bookstore.
It's all in there.
bookstore.
Hollywood to Wisconsin.
That's right.
Anything you want, it's there.
Just because this would be funny,
It was.
It was.
That was a John Candy thing, though, was getting all dragged up.
it was. You guys thought this was funny?
Yes.
This was
What was
humorous.
funny about it?
This was hilarious. Didn't you ever
Oh,
go
it's
in the
John
back-
Candy in a dress.
Didn't you ever go in the back room in the movie store?
No.
The
It was hilarious. You read the titles and you're like, ha ha ha.
What was funny about this movie? Them going into the. I'm not talking about when your old trips to the peep show. I'm talking about in this movie. What happened?
It brought back memories.
Nothing happened in the movie that was funny.
Hey, give me a quarter.
In
Give me a
fact,
quarter.
the whole point, the whole peep show thing was pointless.
It was awkward.
There was
It's
no
just to
reason.
show that
That Frank's a creep?
Yes, Norman is the good dude, and that Frank is just the less likable.
Well, and it's the whole just the crazy happenings that are, this is going to be so comical from this point forward because
Except
of
it wasn't. They just forgot to put anything funny in there.
and then I got it figured out. We're gonna go ahead and lure these guys in and take their clothes.
Yeah.
Which
And
is,
that-
Cross-dresser and the S&M guy. Yeah.
And that leads Eugene Levy
Big
to be
time
walking
trope.
around with assless chaps. And
Right.
That right there.
well, that's the whole thing. It's like, okay, how can we get John
the
and
payoff.
how can we get John and Drag and Eugene in these chaps, and we'll contrive a whole thing just to make it happen. But the problem is, if you do all that just for one joke, and then that one joke isn't that great, that renders the whole 5-minute section of the movie pointless.
Well, yeah, sure. Less pointful.
Less pointful. In fact, the funniest thing that happened in that scene is when the cops come in and they're searching the adult store for them, and the one cop is looking at the magazine, the disgusting magazine, and he throws like, "Why'd you pick it up? Like, you know what store
you know
you're
what
in?"
it is, yeah.
Right?
It's not like you're picking up the new Sun.
Right. This is where we do find out though that the dirty cops that hosed Candy in the beginning of the movie also are connected somehow to Michael Carlino,
right?
Because this is where they've now joined the chase, so to speak, and are coming after them. So here's what I don't understand.
Well, and then they're running in the morning to go meet up with Maggie.
Why are they still dressed like that?
Yeah. It's
So
like
that they can draw
literally
the plan out on Eugene Levy's ass.
Now it's broad daylight. Okay, it's broad daylight. Meg Ryan's in the park waiting for this clandestine meeting with these two, and it's now
and it acts totally normal.
and
yeah.
Oh, she no sells it like crazy. The scene before it was the middle of the night,
She totally does.
and then in broad daylight in a park, they're still in drag and in their S&M
I love
gear.
that there's a lady jogging by them and
Yes.
just doesn't even really give them a look. Like,
Well, it's Los Angeles. I mean, this is
normal
not
around
really
here.
out of the ordinary.
That I'll give you. That's true.
She literally was just jogging and happened to be in the movie. Had nothing to do with it.
Yeah. Can you imagine?
She's like, oh, it's Tuesday.
Hey, look at that. All right. Hey, John. Eugene. See ya.
All right, so this is the last of the of the contrivances. Is this plan? This is where they map out the plan. Their big master dumb plan, which, again, don't pull the string because it makes no sense.
Well, go ahead.
No, that was to prompt. Go ahead.
I was just the whole thing with the motorcycle and John Candy. It's
like why?
Like that wasn't even comical. Like I love what he was wearing, but like why not just take the motorcycle up on the sidewalk and save the day? Like, but we got to get into a semi truck and crash
that's the whole
through
thing. The
all
Motorcycle broke down.
But why even
still.
have to go ride the old?
That's
your old
my point, though, is it didn't need to break
Jack
down. Just
motorcycle.
take it to the point.
But there's no way for
There's
him
no
to break
reason
out
to-
his gun that's only legal in 2 states, and this isn't one of them. He's
Listen.
a good cop.
What was the plan? The plan was, okay, we're gonna have Norman drive the truck.
Sure.
Okay.
Yes.
Why not have Norman drive the truck somewhere else?
That's exactly what they'd expect you to do.
Right? Instead of like following along and meeting like
Pulling a Yui in the
trying to
middle,
pull a
like,
Yui
yeah.
and thing like just take the truck. Now you
Causing a
have the
bridge
truck
backup. Yeah.
and just drive to Mexico or somewhere else to a meeting point with John Candy. Nowhere where they're going to even know where you
Take
are.
it to the cops.
Not along the planned route. Why would you do that?
Oh, because they needed to get those people to get him caught somehow. I would assume. I'm just trying to say to give you a possible why. You're right. It doesn't make sense.
Did you guys notice in that chase scene too that they reused the same block?
Oh,
So
yeah.
If you watch
Oh,
it,
yeah.
they pass the same red
was
bug like 2 or 3 times.
There was another movie that they used the same section of road for an entire chase scene.
I
What
know.
was that one?
That was the Mummer Man
That
from
was the
2009.
That's
Yeah.
true.
Yeah.
I remember that.
With a budget much less than this movie.
Yes. And so the whole point of this plan was that he's supposed to meet
had
them
a
somewhere
budget.
and like dress up as a 1940s pilot,
Yes.
right, to
Yeah.
ride this motorcycle. And he says, "I'll be there. I'll be there."
Yeah, I'm gonna
and of
be
course, every possible thing that could possibly happen to keep him from being there happens. Bike breaks down. He runs over a guy's door, right? Again, he's a jerk.
Well,
He gets
he's
into a
not
fight.
jerk, actually. The
Yeah.
guy in the motorcycle's a jerk, or the guy in the car is a jerk in
Right.
that situation because
Why?
in California, it is legal to split lanes.
Yes.
It
Was
is
he-
not
was he-
legal to open your door.
But was he opening the door to impede the
It
bike?
doesn't matter if he was or not. He's opening the door without checking his mirror.
That's
for
fine.
motorcycles that are legally allowed to split lanes.
That's fine. Well, then even so,
But
he
Still doesn't
finds
help with the plot.
He finds
doesn't help
a
at all.
monster truck full of preps and chicks.
Yeah.
Okay.
Just drinking
Just
and
drinking beer.
dump stuff on him. Yeah.
I do like that he got those guys' tires.
He should have just pulled the gun out right there and took the truck.
Just take the truck, right?
There.
Everybody get out.
Out. Seriously.
And
Instead, he meets up with the semi truck driver, and they start crashing through cars.
okay, so Cowboy.
oil rig.
The guy's name is Cowboy. Okay.
Right.
Of course, it is.
And
Steve Rail's back.
thank you. Who's done tons of B movies. Go back and if you guys get a chance, look at his filmography. It's filled with just gold. And if the movie was $12 million to make, They spent more of that on Born to Be Wild, I have to imagine, than they did on all of those cars that they drove over in the semi truck, because the whole soundtrack of the movie had been like generic synth, and then out of nowhere, he says, "Let's see how fast this thing will go." Hits the gas, and Born to Be Wild comes on like full blast, and I'm like, how on earth they did no other music in the whole movie, which means they spent their whole wad on this one song. And it was great. I thought that moment was fantastic.
Yeah.
That was the moment when I was younger that I always was waiting for. It was the music, and he's running people like cars going everywhere and stuff. I mean, at the time, didn't get any better than that for me as a kid.
What are you hauling? Rocket fuel.
That's right. Hey, you're all right. I like you too, buddy.
What kind of gun is that?
He found a sociopathic truck driver, and that's all he needed.
Perfect. Yeah, it worked.
Was that actually a 50 caliber
No, it was not.
handgun?
It was a Kazoo. And interestingly, Mel and I shot one. We actually shot one of those at Outdoorsman. I'm pretty sure it was you. It was a rental gun.
Oh.
We did the Desert Eagle.
We did the Desert Eagle the first time.
Oh,
we tried the
yep.
Kazoo the same day,
Yep.
and then we actually took the 500 Smith & Wesson actual 50 cal Magnum. So now, like, they're saying that this is a 50 cal. It's the biggest gun there is. Well, it wasn't a 50 cal. It was a Kazoo round, which was actually more powerful than the 50. But then they came out later than this movie with the 50 cal Magnum that was the 500.
Right. And he says to him,
I was going to bring that because, like, Charles always brings props.
Yes.
I was like, I'm not bringing
Don't
that.
bring the gun. He says this is only legal in 2 states, and this isn't one of them. But fun fact, 50 cal handguns are legal in all 50 states.
True story.
Not in 2. But it sounds cool when you say it like that.
As a police officer, a good cop.
Right.
And then you just hand it to the guy at the end of the movie without doing any background check at all.
No background check was completed. In fact, the guy, I'm pretty sure, killed somebody back when he was running cars off the road. Meanwhile, Meg and Norman are driving the armored car and getting pushed around by an Oldsmobile.
Oh,
Okay.
yeah.
This is legit. This would actually not go down at all like that. This Oldsmobile is probably 3,600 pounds, couple guys in it, whatever. It's 4,000 pounds. We'll call it 2 tons. This truck, a medium-sized armored truck, single axle, 15 to 20,000 pounds because it had a lot of money in it, but money's not supremely heavy considering what these trucks can hold.
Yeah.
Now, there are like 50,000 pound armored trucks. This wasn't one of them.
Oh, my gosh.
But yeah, even at a 15,000 pound light-ish armored truck, there's no way you're pushing it around that bad.
Right.
You may affect its.
It's like running it off the road.
Yeah, no, it was
You ain't steering it anywhere.
definitely a plot device.
And thank God they called
Plot
out
armor.
Plot
armor truck.
Thank God. Thank God they called this out because they're like ducking from gunfire and stuff. And I was like writing it down like these idiots. And then she goes, wait, this is an armored truck. Why are we ducking? I'm like, oh, thank God,
Yeah.
at least somebody in this movie
Oh, remember, he's a new security guard.
realized.
Right.
And he's a
I know.
panicky Pete.
But
He's
And
a
he's
panicky
probably
Pete.
never driven anything other than his Honda. That's the guy I'd put in the truck.
Yeah.
there's 2 things I want to bring up as we wrap, kind of put a bow as the movie's coming to an end here. That my favorite thing in the movie is these 2 blonde henchmen that have not been in the movie the entire time, and they straight out of henchman casting. They're in this other chase vehicle
In the Trans Am.
in the Trans Am, and they're just like they look like 2 Russian bad guys,
Miami Vice.
Miami Vice looking
Uzis and-
Uzi guys. And oh my gosh, this guy was so excited to be in this movie.
Oh, yeah.
Right?
He was living it up.
This was his moment, dude. This guy was psyched to be in this movie. And of course, they're inept and they're not able to stop the armored car. But at one point in the movie, later on in the chase, this guy has an acting take that's one of the best acting takes of any bit character we've ever had in one of these movies. Lazarus or one of the union guys calls them on their car phone,
Sure.
right, to say they're coming back around this way. You're gonna cut them off or whatever.
Yeah.
And this guy delivered this line, which was the line was just all the line was we're on our way. Okay.
Yeah.
And he delivered it like he was like I imagine he was pacing before this shot was shot. Right.
Sure.
He was just like, all right, man, this is it. This is my moment right here. We're not going to mess this up. Not going to mess this up. Not going to do it. Not like last time where I was a crazy. No, be normal this time, okay? All right. And he gets himself all worked up into a frenzy. And then just do a normal take. And then like, action. We're on our way. Like, it was the most insane. Do you guys remember this at all?
Yes, absolutely.
He sold it.
It was the most insane one-line performance I've ever seen somebody give in a movie. It was hysterical.
He's getting your...
He's 100% my Will Patton Award winner, just for that one line. And I felt like it was accidental. I felt like he was telling himself, "Don't be too intense. Don't be too intense. You're always doing that.
Don't do it.
Yeah.
You do that all the time."
And then afterwards, immediately, he's like,
Oh, we're gonna be there.
and then afterwards, he's just like, "Dang it!"
Do you think that was too much? I'll redo it again. No, it's fine. We got it.
Oh my
It's the same
gosh!
as all 43 other previous takes.
Yeah.
Identical. But that was a Corvette, not a Trans Am.
Here's the other thing I want to bring up is,
Come on, guys.
as John is trying to get to, or Dooley's trying to get to Norman, okay, because he said he was going to be there at this intersection. There's all kinds of moments in this last chase where people know things that they shouldn't know, which is the sign of a poor script. When John Candy walks up to the semi and he says, "I'm just going to say this once. I'm a special officer, and if I don't get to this street and this street by this time, 2 people I care about are going to be in trouble." He have no way of knowing Meg Ryan was in that truck
Sure.
because she wasn't supposed to be.
It's a true story.
And at the end, or even when Norman goes like, "What are you doing in here? You're not supposed to be in here." Like that whole thing. Okay, that was number 1. Then,
Good catch, by the way.
right,
I didn't even...
and then they're still far away when he pulls up in the semi and blocks the rocket launcher from the freaking ice cream man, which is a whole other thing we have to unpack. That was random.
Right.
He gets out of the car and he's like, "Oh, Frank." There's no way he would know Frank was in that semi.
Wait, I just thought of something because wasn't it supposed to be Popolovich in, or not Popolovich, Kokolovich in with Eugene Levy because it was a pair.
No, he was supposed to take it from them.
But she kicked the other guy out.
They're all supposed to get kicked out. It was just going to be Eugene Levy by himself.
Okay, I thought he was supposed to have a partner.
No. And then he pulls up in the semi, and they're still far. And even the shots, you can tell. You can't see through anything. The last minute, the semi pulls in and blocks the thing, and he gets out. He's like, "Frank!" How on earth would he know Frank was in the semi?
Additionally, in that moment, when you blow up a tanker truck full of rocket fuel and the front of the cowling and everything is on fire too, the inside of that semi-truck is not pristine.
No. Well, there's that also.
Or survivable.
Way to sell it. Yeah.
But he yells it twice. Once as he's pulling up, as the semi's pulling up, he yells Frank, and then afterwards he's like, "Frank." It just doesn't make any sense.
Frank's not going to be there. It's not going to be his fault.
Okay.
Something's going to happen, but he's not.
But he doesn't know,
make
he doesn't know he's hijacked a semi for sure.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. Anyway, so the random thing we got to unpack is
Ice
all
cream
of
man.
this nonsense, and all of a sudden he's like, "He's almost to you, ice cream man. I'll be ready." And I'm like, "Who the frick is the ice cream man?
Yeah.
Who's this guy?"
Why is he all of a sudden
It wasn't
showing
a
up?
code name either. He
No.
was legitimately
The ice cream man. Yeah.
Well, they were trying to make it seem like terrorists did it.
And
So
this dude's got a
terrorists-
bazooka
That's
in an
why
ice
they
cream
hired
truck.
the non-looking like them guys to follow him in the Corvette.
To look like
That's right.
Germans.
To look like
some
Germans did
Because
it.
Germans have to be the bad guys.
Frank pulls the semi,
Russians
not
at that
Frank,
time.
it's Cowboy, pulls the semi in front of the armored car so that the
Ice cream truck,
ice
Cold War. Had to.
Frank Frank has Cowboy pull the semi in front of the armored truck so that the ice cream man's rocket doesn't blow him up. Okay, and he saves the day. And they're all like, "Good job." They're like, "Good job. You get to be a cop again, Frank. Oh, and you also get to be a cop. I don't want to be. I don't care. You're a cop now."
Right.
You got to.
That's basically the end of the movie.
Yeah. Basically.
Do you think a rocket fuel carrying tanker truck is a better target if you're sitting in it for a rocket than an armored vehicle?
Think about the armored vehicle, though. If it got hit by an RPG,
Right.
it's going to toast the money. You're going
Right.
to have an explosion. There's going to be
It's-
money everywhere.
it's useless.
It's stupid.
Yeah. But you're right. What happens is the tanker takes the shot. The tanker blows up, but the cab is
Mint can
and the
perfectly
cab
open
is
the
even
door.
on fire on the outside.
Yeah, they pop the doors on this thing, and it's
And
perfect
out
inside.
comes John Candy from the inside of it.
As I say, there's glass back on the cab too, isn't there?
Yeah.
There would be.
Yeah,
on the back
on
of
that
the
Ford, it was a
potentially
Ford
on a sleeper.
tractor. So
Yeah.
yeah.
Who knows?
Hey, who knows?
I
It was
there.
a movie.
It is a movie. Let's.
If you've got anything on your notepad, right now is the time to bring it up, because as we all do when we watch these things, we've got to care about and love the little things.
I loved the '80s cars. That just from the opening. Well, not opening, but the second opening scene where he's driving down the city streets in the middle of the night, right before he finds these guys. Like, man, there's Civics and CRXs of that same type era, the first generations. There's the RX-7s all over the place, Mustangs, like LeBarons. Like it just brings back to high school or pre-high school even.
I had 3 Pinto sightings in this movie.
Oh, you did?
I did. Yeah.
I know when they're driving down that street. Oh, were you really?
Yeah, I try to do it in all the old movies just because, my love for Pintos.
That's awesome.
I had to love the Tito Puente.
Tito Puente is great.
Tito Puente, just putting him in there was amazing.
I didn't know it was him until I saw the credits. And I was like,
it was on the wall on the back.
Oh, I missed it.
It was Tito's.
Oh, see, I missed it. But I was watching the credits and I was like, that was Tito Puente. No wonder he was so smooth and effortless in his performance. But, in that place they drove past while we were checking out all the cars, where there was that chicken dancing out front, was a famous chicken place on Hollywood Boulevard. Now it's a Church of Scientology building. So
they don't serve chicken anymore?
No, they don't.
On special
You used to
days.
be able to get delicious chicken, and now you just get
Delicious lies.
delicious cult. What's the word I was going to...
So you go from
Delicious.
clucks to cult?
You go from clucks to cult. That's right.
Indoctrination?
Indoctrination. That's it.
Brainwashing? Wait, we can't talk bad about Scientology. Scientologists, if you want to email the show.
This show is trash@gmail.com.
We would love to read your emails.
We would love to read all of your emails.
Thank you, Tom Cruise.
That's right. All right, so it's time, as we always do, to give some awards to this movie, and we start with the Will Patton Award for Intensity. This guy was uncredited in the movie, and so there's no point in withholding my vote. You all know I've already picked blonde hair bad guy in the Corvette for his one line of dialogue. "We'll be there," was the winner for me. What do you guys think?
He was probably the most intense for everything, but I think our bad guy would be the next most intense for somebody who's actually in the movie.
For Michael Carlino, that's your vote?
Yeah.
For Robert Loggia?
See, I went a different route. I went with the cowboy Carl.
Okay.
Because
Steve Railsbach.
He was just so over the top.
He went for it.
Yeah. Good, man, boom, yeah. It was just wow. All right.
He went for
an unnecessary character. He sure knocked it out of the park.
Cowboy it was.
All right, well then he's going to be the winner. Cowboy wins the Steve Railsbach. Is
Good
that
job,
what?
Mel.
Steve
Good job.
Railsbach.
Steve Railsbach is the winner of the Will Patton Award for Intensity, and we now move on to the Michael Dudikoff Trash Can Full of Dirt Award, which is an acting award that we give to who was the worst performer in the movie and whose acting range was that of a trash can full of dirt. Where are you going with this one, Clint?
This one is so hard for me because you look at even all those dumb little parts, and it's like there's so many good little nuance acting parts in this movie that for me to pick a bad one in general, I know you're going to say one I'm going to be blindingly forgot about it, but legitimately I think a lot of the small parts, they all did a decent job.
You don't have one for this movie?
I don't have one.
Wow.
See,
This is BMR history right here.
Right.
I went with the two detectives because they could be replaced by anybody.
They could, but
they were nobodies.
But I liked it. I mean, I don't know.
You know who I went with? I went with the Triumph the Insult Dog rubber dog that bit John Candy's hand. That was such a bad. I was like, you can tell that's rubber. That's not even a real dog.
Well, and then he bit the dog's face. That wasn't a real dog either.
Again, that goes to the bad acting on my part for the guy doing the role as the rubber dog. Are you okay over there? Who was yours, James? Who was your Trash Can Full of Dirt Award winner?
Just think about this for a second, Clint.
Kurt Russell wasn't in it.
You gave Kurt Russell the Trash Can Full of Dirt Award with no hesitation in Big Trouble in China, and you can't find one person that sucks in Armed and Dangerous from 1986?
You did realize that had changed that later and said that the actual worst person in Big Trouble in Little China was the reporter.
Margot.
That was
No, I
more
know.
for me to just get.
I'm just more giving you a hard time because this movie is littered with terrible
Yeah, but
performances.
I enjoyed all of it. There was nothing here that's like, oh man, that guy's, get rid of him. It's like, I liked it. I don't know.
At least now we know. We just know.
The little girl in the first scene was she
forgot her existence.
She was worse than someone reading lines off of a cue card.
But I told you, I'm going to have forgotten. That was like the first minute and a half of the movie.
Melanie Gaffin, trash. Okay?
Hi, Melanie.
A trained monkey could have done that part better.
Email the show at the show is trash.
The guy that played Rizzo, which was one of the cops. The cop that stopped them on the sidewalk when they came out in drag or whatever.
Both Rizzo and
his acting was terrible.
Yes.
Sure.
Come on.
Terrible.
Either one of those guys.
Objectively.
One was talking with their mouth full.
Objectively terrible. Okay? Not like, I just didn't like it. Objectively bad acting out of that guy.
He knew to swallow his food before he spoke English. He wins in my book.
That is not whether someone's eating while they're talking is not an acting issue. It's just something you don't like.
Right.
It's an acting award.
I mean, if you can't hear their lines, it's kind of an acting issue.
Well, but in this case you could. That's the thing.
Okay.
Who are you?
I love that you're so fired up about this still. It was weeks ago. It was like a month ago.
I get fired up about it every time it seems like something very easy, like who was the worst actor, is still not understood by people on the show.
Some days.
Because it's not who you do not like the most. It's not who annoyed you the most. It's not someone chewed their mouth full and that bothered you. It's acting. Who did the worst acting job objectively?
Well, I mean, you can only deal with what you're written.
Clint's an onion. He's just got many layers. And it's our job to just peel them off one by one. And everything's new and exciting.
And there wasn't one person that you thought was a bad actor in this movie.
They're all better than me.
That's not the question if they're better than you or not.
Like I said, every
It's just
single
so
one of these
simple.
little parts I actually enjoy. Like even the girls they brought in for no reason whatsoever, they actually found themselves to be useful. I don't know.
They were bubbly and fun.
Yeah. Because I was looking at that, and I probably started looking for my bad actor later in the movie.
What about the S&M guy?
I liked it.
Yeah, did you?
Yeah.
The little lip. Yeah.
Absolutely.
He sold it.
He played creepy
S&M guy.
Yeah, creepy S&M guy at the store. I think he might have actually been a customer.
He was an extra.
Who are your top 3 performers? Is the next thing that we always do. This is where you're subjective. This is the part where we go, I liked this the best, or I didn't like this, or whatever. This is the subjective part of the awards. Okay.
No, this is for best actors.
This is not. This is who were your personal top 3 favorite people in the movie.
Top 3.
Yes.
Meg Ryan, number 3 for Maggie Cavanaugh.
Okay.
Eugene Levy for Norman Kane, and John Candy for Frank Dooley.
Okay. How about for you?
I went Eugene Levy, number 1.
Okay.
Reasons being is because I felt like you really got to see him as a comedian in this movie. Mm-hmm. I felt like, in most movies that I've seen him in, he's just sort of a supporting role. And the fact that he was kind of one of the leads, it was fun to see him be comical and do, his physical comedy. And then I would go John Candy, number 2, and Meg Ryan, number 3.
Okay. Awesome. How about for you, sir?
Meg Ryan 3, Eugene Levy 2, and I actually, again, I like the our mob boss,
Robert Loggia.
Yeah.
Okay.
I liked him.
All right. No John Candy in your top 3.
No, I think again, just being that slightly miscast, he would definitely be top 5, 4 or 5 spot.
Yeah.
But legitimately, I didn't like from all the other John Candy we've seen, it didn't deliver John Candy.
No, I don't have him in my top 3 either. And number 1, I had Eugene Levy.
How dare you not put him in your top 3?
Yeah. This is subjective, this part. This is where it's okay to do this.
Ah, geez.
And you're subjectively wrong.
And that may very well be your opinion. John Candy.
Subjective opinion.
That's what I'm saying. John Candy, not in the top 3. Larry Hankin, I had at number 2. Koklovich. And then number 3, I had Tito Puente as my third best.
Tito Puente always performs.
think I couldn't even give 3. There were so many bad acting performances in this movie that there was literally 12 people in the running
Meg
for
Ryan?
Trash Can. Yeah, her acting was terrible in this movie.
What?
No way.
It was terrible.
She was so likable.
No way.
She was not. This is very early in her career, and she had not yet figured it out. She was not good in this movie. Not at all.
Disagree.
That's fine.
Right.
That's the whole point. Would you guys say that this is so as you now, go back through and we've looked through the entire thing, would you say that it's a straight up good movie, it's a bad movie that rules, or it's a bad movie full stop with no qualifier? What do you guys think?
I'm going to say good movie.
Okay.
I'm going with bad movie that rules
Okay.
because I just couldn't find it to be good enough to where, like, will I watch this again maybe in a year? Sure.
Yeah.
I'll watch it if it's on TV, but I'm not. It just didn't hook me enough to where I'm like, yes, this is such a good movie.
Yeah, no, I'm with you.
I'm gonna go with bad movie that rules. I'm glad I bought it instead of renting it because I will watch it again.
Yeah.
It definitely has problems
Yes.
in writing, or again, it feels like it did fall apart. I can't say that I found an actual definition where they changed directors and it got better or worse, but legitimately the second half of the movie does feel more like stuck together scenes as opposed to a cohesive
Storyline.
Oh, for sure.
But that might not be the director. They might not have had it. So who knows?
No, I agree with you. I'll say that it's a bad movie that rules. There was enough in it that I enjoyed, and maybe some of that is just nostalgia. There are serious problems with it, but I think I would be dishonest to say that I didn't enjoy it at all, and so I'm not going to call it a bad movie. That's not it.
I agree.
So, all right. But would Arnold make this movie better? That's really the thing.
As the little girl?
He could have played the little girl. He could have cried better than she did. But I actually think it would be a better movie if
My
he
cat
was
that's stuck in a tree.
Yeah.
Instead of John Candy?
If he was Frank Dooley, I think it's a better movie.
Sure.
Yeah.
I
With
think,
Eugene Levy?
yeah. Well, he did team up buddy comedies before.
Yeah.
Right?
And
And
it was with Jim Belushi, right?
he did stuff with Belushi, did stuff with Danny DeVito. Even Kindergarten Cop with I can't remember the gal's name that played his partner or whatever in that.
Yeah.
But she's a comedic actress as well, and that was good. So I think this is something he easily could have pulled off.
I'll second that. I like that idea.
And then I think you buy Arnold more as the jerky guy than you do John Candy,
The scorned cop.
the scorned cop, whatever.
Sure.
Right? Because
Could you imagine him bent down peeping through the creep hole?
That would have been great.
yeah,
Eugene
him
Levy
get-
trying to get around him.
Him getting all dressed up and trying like, come here.
yeah.
Come here.
Hi, officer.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Dressed in drag.
Punching friggin' Turbo right in the face.
We want to give out a shout out to a few of our patrons. The people that are part of that community that are on our Patreon, these guys are legends. Seriously, we have the best people. Guys like Craig Soto.
I know that guy.
This guy's like our guy in the chair. You know, like Ned, it's for Spider-Man?
Yep.
He's our guy in the chair.
Yep.
Every show needs a guy in a chair.
This guy, this dude straight built a stat matrix for the show from scratch.
Yeah.
Right? I showed you that the stat spreadsheet.
Oh yeah, that guy.
was
that
amazing.
guy, yeah.
Yeah. It was awesome. And we got guys like Paul Bell,
Oh my gosh.
who I heard once wrestled a bear at a campsite over a half-empty whipped cream can and won.
Got to protect that whipped cream.
He won. He like held him down and he sprayed it in his face afterwards.
Wow.
He's like, "This is what you wanted?
Modern day David.
Is this what you wanted?"
That's right.
just let him have
And
it.
he licked
would
it
give
off
him
the
the-
bear's
the
face.
head
That's what I'm
nod.
saying. If you were just going to let him have it anyway, just
Yeah.
let him have it. But no, he wanted to win, show he could win,
Rub it in his face.
right? Because he's Paul Bell, and then rub it in his face.
Rub it in his face.
Just I want you to know you're only getting this because I'm giving it to you.
That's right.
That's kind of man Paul
Don't
Bell
give me
is.
sass afterwards.
That's what I'm saying.
That's right.
And the whole time Craig was there taking the stats of what was going down.
He's in the background.
That's what I'm saying.
Writing everything down.
That's right.
How many pins?
Then there's Mark Gusek.
Oh my god. Not the Mark Gusak.
The Mark
Mark
Gusek.
Gusek.
He's part of our Patreon.
I heard that guy rescues firemen out of trees.
He does. This guy has a beard capable of knocking out a grown man.
Oh my gosh.
Wow.
Okay? He's trained his facial hair so well that it can solidify and soften on command, either protect himself from a hit or soften an impact when he's falling. But he never falls.
I heard that he can bring back baby lambs from the dead just by rubbing them on his beard vigorously.
Yeah, this is the guy. He's part of our Patreon.
Are you kidding? That's
I'm
amazing.
saying
That's awesome.
We're getting the biggest legends.
If I have any baby lambs, I know I'm going to call.
We may be moving into mythical legends.
That's what I'm saying.
Here. Yes.
These are the kind of guys. Women too.
We got women. Really?
These are the kind of legends that we have. Yes, they let it. They let these ladies in this Patreon. I'm thinking of that thing from Winners Take All. Sorry.
I know. Sorry.
These are the kind of legends that have joined us on Patreon. All right.
Awesome.
We want you guys to join us. Come be part of the fun.
Thank you for making it happen.
Yeah, man. Next week, you guys, we've got a movie that I've never seen. I'm honestly a little bit concerned, if I'm being 100% honest here. I'm concerned about doing this movie.
What's the movie?
It's about a girl is among the few survivors of a dystopian Earth. Riding a war tank, she fights against the tyranny of a mega corporation that dominates the remaining potable water supply of the planet. Tank Girl.
Yes.
Lori Petty and Ice-T.
I missed that one.
Lori Petty is.
I wasn't
my,
able to be
trash
on
can
that
full
one.
of dirt.
If you've got that much iced tea, why are you worried about potable water supply?
That's what I'm saying. Ice-T plays a kangaroo in this movie, so that should just tell you
What
about.
the?
Yeah.
Sorry,
Oh, exactly.
I haven't seen it either.
Yeah, me
Sounds
neither.
terrific.
I haven't seen it in a long time.
Yeah. You've seen it before?
Oh, yeah.
I've never.
Who
Is it
drafted
bad?
this?
Job drafted it. That's why we're doing it.
For me, it's a
Yeah.
good bad.
It's good, bad. You liked it?
It's a good bad. It's so bad that I loved it. It's like Howard the
Jeez.
Duck.
I'm not looking forward to it at all.
No, you're not going to.
Well, of
I'm
course.
going to hate it.
Yeah.
It's like Howard the Duck. Why
The
would
whole
you look
movie's
forward
getting your
to it?
trash can award. I'm telling you right now.
What'd you say, Clay?
It's like Howard the Duck. Why would you like it?
That's what I'm saying. Who would like that movie?
I would.
Well, join us next week as we oh, I need my, hold on, let me do the ending first. Join us next week as we dive into Tank Girl, and we just, appreciate you guys. Thank you for listening to our diehards. You come with us through the entire episode. I appreciate you guys have stuck with us. Hopefully you liked Armed and Dangerous. Maybe you liked it more or less than we did, but hopefully you at least enjoyed the conversation. If you haven't yet had a chance, check out our Patreons, patreon.com/badmoviesrule. And you can listen to the bonus recordings, which we're about to make right after we end this. If you guys want to hear that stuff, make sure you jump on there. We appreciate all of you. On behalf of Clint Bush, Kurt Mummer, and Mel Vandy, I'm James Hauser. Thank you for listening.
Man, I crushed a huge buffet yesterday.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Fell on it.
Yeah. I hurt myself. Cracked 3 ribs.
I do have the Armed and Dangerous lyrics.
Do you? All right, let's get into that in a second. In our bonus. Can I get my phone? Yeah. Thanks, man.